Are you going to see The Crow this weekend?
I will not be seeing The Crow this weekend.
Are you going to see The Crow this weekend?
I will not be seeing The Crow this weekend.
I'm not sure if anyone's going to see it.
I will not be seeing The Crow this weekend.
Oh, did you hear that?
That worked.
Did it echo? Oh, because it echoed because we played it there. feel like that's gonna be our movie experience this weekend.
What is that?
Cabin in the Wood Film Fest.
That's right. Cabin in the Wood Film Fest happening this week in, what is it, Seattle?
Seattle, yeah. So
we are invited guests.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Of the web edition.
So we'll be attending virtually, which I'm looking forward to.
Yeah,
I've never attended something virtually.
Yeah, me neither. I remember during the pandy, I feel like Alamo started doing that at home, like the streaming it at home. But this feels like it's going to be an entire experience.
Well, I remember I did the Fantastic Fest virtual, which was, they actually had like sort of Zoom screenings where you could had a chat going while they were screening stuff. So I'm not sure. It feels like I was reading over it, and I feel like there's like a murder mystery angle. I don't know. I've got to see exactly what.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Yeah,
Friday and Saturday. We logged in and tested it. Did you log in yet? Double test it?
Oh no, I haven't logged in.
Yeah,
I didn't know you could
check
that.
it. Yeah. Thanks to our pal Rainbow Fright. But yeah, it's gonna be good. But you said you're not going to see The Crow this weekend, and
no, I'm seeing Strange Darlings.
Strange Darlings.
Yeah.
What's that one about?
That's the one. I'm sure you've seen the trailer in the theater 100 times by now. It's the one where she's like, I just gotta know, are you a serial killer?
Oh yes, that's this weekend.
Yeah, and it's got Simon from Dinner in America.
Oh,
as the main guy.
Wow, look at that. The world is a simulation, because now you manifested Dinner in America, and now you're seeing him in other movies, just like that.
He's in a lot of stuff. He's in like Smile. He's in Smile 2. So he'll be around. You're seeing The Crow though.
Maybe, probably, potentially.
I can't do it.
I feel like they're already trying to bury it. I feel like they're already trying to bury it.
It feels very buryable.
Well, I don't even understand what that's what we're having the show, but it was sandwiched. I've just figured this was a great topic right now, because we're coming off of Alien Romulus, which was prequel, sequel, requel.
It's a requel.
It's a requel, but it's a prequel because it sits between Alien and Aliens with the S. So it requeled into a very specific point in the Alien timeline.
Right.
And then The Crow's just like, screw it, we're just going to be a reboot. Oh, and I was going to ask you, is reimagining just the reboot of the title Reboot? That they just said, we're not going to call it Reboot anymore, we're just going to reimagine it?
Oh yeah, a reboot is another name. A reimagining is another name for a reboot.
Right, that's just Reboot. So they rebooted the title and changed it to reimagining.
That's right.
But there's a lot. There's a lot. I think maybe we should break down which one is which, because the idea, I think William Hurt said at RIP that every idea in Hollywood has already been made, so they just redo the same ones.
I think that's just a fact
in some way, shape, or form. Do you think the muse is just out of ideas?
Well, I think that there is only a limited amount of ideas, but you can use those ideas in indefinite ways and combinations. But I think the thing is now no one's willing to take a risk. I think Vince Vaughn was on an interview recently, and he said the reason this happens is because studio executives, they take an IP or a property and they turn that into their project, and they'll make it and maybe it'll be a hit, but usually it's not. But because of the fact that they sort of followed protocol by taking an IP and remaking it, rebooting it, or requeling it, it's like, you can't fire me. I did my job.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that interview with him, and it was all everybody afraid of being fired.
You can't fire me. I did my job. I requelled the pole position game.
Man, everybody's just afraid to lose their job these days. Remember when I feel like the old Hollywood, they had some balls, right? It doesn't feel like it's there anymore.
We need Robert Evans back.
Yeah, we need Ruddy. He was great. The people just go with your gut. I mean, they hedged their bets on a lot of these remakes and sure thing IPs, and they're losing just as much, wouldn't you say?
More so.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it's more of they're at a constant loss. It feels like every once in a while something will be a giant hit, but between that you've got 90%
misses.
Misses.
Yeah.
Some big misses. Look at Borderlands. That was a huge game.
Oh wow.
It's not one of the biggest games of all time.
It's up there.
And it's got an Oscar winner in the lead. It's got Kevin Hart, the most popular comedian probably working today. And Jack Black is in there.
Big whiff.
And just an entire zoom.
That was a huge whiff. And I feel like I'm swapping these gimmicks out.
Oh, right. You were doing the bifocal gimmick. Earlier.
Yeah. It's actually Reed.
But like nobody cared. And I don't know why nobody cared. They just look. I mean, I honestly, like I said, I smelled something fishy in the trailer, but for the most part, the trailer delivered.
Yeah.
It felt like, oh, they're doing Guardians of the Galaxy as Borderlands. Okay, it looks kind of fun. But nobody bought it.
No, nobody bought it at all. It feels like this summer had a lot of big misses like that. And then coming off of Borderlands, we had Aliens, and I think you even said it on the show. It was like, who asked for another Aliens?
Nobody asked for another Aliens.
Did nobody ask for another Aliens? And this was probably one of the best installments they had.
Real quick, we can do the Alien Romulus spot. Why is it called Romulus? Because of the ship?
The ship, yeah.
They need to drop that.
Yeah.
Stop naming the Alien movies after ships. It doesn't matter. I don't know what else the naming convention they could use, but like, stop doing ships.
I know they wanted to try to get, and it makes sense. They had to try to get rid of numbers, right? Because especially now, numbers aren't going to.
They definitely don't. They don't want numbers. Yeah, I get it. But
I do hate when there's something that's like remade or rebooted, and they just use the exact same title. I do hate that.
I don't mind that.
You don't mind it?
No, because they can just call it whatever 2024.
Yeah.
Which is okay in my book. I don't have any problem with that.
Well, I'm just remakes as a whole. I mean, I guess if you had this whole three things that we're talking about here, hands down, the remake is my least favorite. Even though they've had some winners, I feel like they haven't had winners in a while. Maybe I'm wrong. Well, I guess you could say Dune, but before we go too far down that rabbit hole.
Is it a remake though? You're talking about the Timothy? Okay, yeah, we won't do the rabbit hole, but is the Timothy Chalamet Dune a remake?
Yeah, I think so. Right?
I don't know.
It feels like a remake of the made-for-TV one.
But isn't it just a remake of the book? Are they just doing the book again?
They're just doing the book again.
Wouldn't that be a reboot?
A reboot of the
book.
It's a reboot of the book.
Yeah, because of the book adaptation.
It could be, yeah. I guess it could if you're looking at it from the book.
Because they're not remaking the David Lynch Dune.
No, that's a completely different thing.
Yeah,
but that one's again there's a lot of gray area in these definitions, and they play in the gray. So you have remakes, right? That remakes are just exactly you're just going to remake something else, right? Reboot is / reimagined, where you're going to take something else and you're going to try it over again. And they always say, why don't you do that with a movie that didn't do well? But they tend to reboot, reimagine stuff that did do well because they want that IP.
Because if you're a studio executive, you'd be like, why would I remake a movie that didn't do well?
Right,
I don't understand the logic. It already did bad once.
Yeah.
It's not worth doing again.
And they don't understand that maybe it was circumstances, directors, performance. There's so many things that they could have made it better. Don't know. And then I feel like Requels new. It's a new title.
It's
right?
the newest one of the three.
It's the newest for sure. But I feel like when Scream was requeled, and that was another one, they just called it Scream. Right, that was when it was requel, but we already kind of had requel already established with Jurassic Park to Jurassic World. They just didn't call it requel. I think requel is when they Scream actually called it that, right?
Well, because Jurassic, is Jurassic World a requel?
I feel like it's a requel, right? Because they were trying to restart it and not remove or damage or do anything with the old one other than acknowledge it and then move on.
So what we're saying is a requel takes place in the universe of the original.
Yes, that's what I feel like.
Also reboots the franchise as a sequel.
Yes, and to me, if I had my druthers, that's my favorite. Honor what came before you, even if it's just the tip of a hat, and then just move on. And I have no problem with trying to establish new characters, just keep the lore. The lore is in it. Most of the time, the lore is never the problem. So just leave the lore in place and then get going. I mean, the biggest IP of all time has learned that, right? Star Wars, they decimated everything that came before them instead of honoring it. And it's funny, and that's probably the best example of a bad way to do it. They took everything that was already established, already in place, and they're just like, we're just going to just crap on it and just try to cash in as fast. And if you look at the dollars, though, would you consider it a failure?
I don't know. Did it do well?
They all did well. I mean, Star Wars The Force Awakens is word for word, bar for bar, a redo of A New Hope, and it's the #1 movie of all time domestically. I mean, so you can't say they didn't make any money.
But the TV shows, no one's digging that.
Oh, no, the TV shows is pretty much tanking Disney Plus.
Yeah.
I mean, but I don't think that's alone just for Star Wars. I think Disney Plus is really whiffing on all fronts with the shows. They haven't figured out the formula. But for movie wise, if you honor what came before you for the fans, and then come up with something new, I think the two shining stars of that is Scream and Jurassic World. They both relaunched another basically trilogy if they wanted to, right? And with Jenna Ortega and Chris Pratt. Those are all new characters, and established that, and then we're able to even bring back some of the OGs and let them kind of give them the rub like you would in wrestling, but the new story continued for new fans. I feel like that's the way to do it. And I feel like Aliens kind of did that too. I think they did a really good job inserting this in here, like just another part of the lore where this felt new and fresh in the sense that if you just sat here and watched this movie, it's self-contained enough that you're going to enjoy the movie, that it's scary and it's good. But if you understood the lore, you're going to get just a little bit more. And that's not a bad thing to reward you for keeping up with it.
Yeah, it was a fine Alien film, I thought. I mean, just like after the last two were so heady and trying to be very intellectual and put all these big ideas up. When the first one was just really, it was a space slasher.
Yeah, space.
That's what was going on.
Right.
And this kind of brings it back. Now, Fede Alvarez is starting to sort of like, we're seeing his, how he is as an auteur director. He's got things he likes to do, he's got big gross out moments and like huge third act turns where things get really weird. He loves to do that, which I think worked well here. I think the anti-gravity acid was great.
Yeah, that was very cool.
It was a very enjoyable, entertaining movie. I liked it. I would love to see more. I have notes, but I'm sure someone brought them up at some point.
Right.
I mean, how did you feel about Ian Holm in the movie?
Which character was that?
He was Rook, the android head that we were talking to.
Yeah, I was okay because I feel like that was the wink to the original. What do they call Andes? And he was the original, but he wasn't the original, but he was the same model. So I didn't find that out till after the fact. After I left, I'm like, was that the same one rebuilt? But then going through, it's like, oh, that's kind of like the T-1000 model of that. But he did have the knowledge of the original movie inserted in there. But he came off way more reprogrammed as a heel. Yeah, but I liked it.
Yeah,
you. What was your notes on that one?
No, I thought it was fine. I felt like maybe why not like Lance Hendrickson? He's alive. Yeah. Why not Bishop? Why not another Bishop?
I did wonder why they chose the one from the first because he's not alive, right? That was total. Was that AI looking?
Yeah, that was complete AI. He's no longer with us.
Okay.
I was like, why not Bishop? And then also, why not? What's his name? Well,
from Prometheus. Michael. Yeah, that would have been a nice tie-in to that as well because I do feel like they did a really good job tying in all the films, the Prometheus series and the Alien series. So they could have done that.
Yeah.
I think that would have been a nice nod.
And my only other gripe is it's like somewhere in the process of these movies over the last however many, it's like the alien birth is like so fast.
Yeah.
It took like days, didn't it? In
It
the
did.
original?
I felt like it
and
did
it's like
take a while.
so fast.
Yeah.
It's like you get knocked up by the face hugger and you're having the alien in minutes.
It was really fast. I did love that. What'd you think of that gimmick, that hand X-ray gimmick? I felt like that added something to it.
The little X-ray gun?
Yeah, and it had a nice little payoff.
That was
to
good.
it, right? That you gave that little bit of scare.
Yeah.
If you had to put, for Fede, and if you put the remake of Evil Dead and then this prequel of Aliens, which one would you say is notched above?
Definitely Alien.
Alien?
Yeah. I wasn't a huge fan of the Fede remake of Evil Dead. I think it's an okay standalone Evil Dead movie, but I don't think it was, well, obviously it didn't launch another franchise, so
No.
I just don't think it was up to par. I prefer Evil Dead Rise as the reboot.
Yeah. Yeah, and makes you wonder, like, why they didn't just give him a swing at something like that. Like, just have these different installments like that stays in that universe. I think he would have did a great job with that.
Possibly, but I think he did fine with Alien, and I think he can go further. I just think, I think, get him a script note guy.
Yeah.
I don't think we needed that line with the "Get away from her, you bitch."
Oh, yeah. That's when,
It doesn't make any sense. It hasn't happened canonically in the series.
Oh, you're right, because it was inserted in between there.
It was in between. It doesn't make any sense.
So now, technically, Andy said it first.
Now you're
before
drawing
Ripley.
attention to that, and it's weird. Like, you just don't need it.
And he put a giant pause in there was the only difference, right?
Yeah.
But you're right. Now he said it before Ripley.
That doesn't make sense. So yeah, that kind of like that to me was unnecessary. But
You know that got a pop in the audience, though. You can tell for
that's why I'm sure it tested well. They left it in.
Yeah.
But I think for dorks like you and we get home. We're like, wait a minute, that hasn't happened in the universe yet. Doesn't make any sense as a reference to something in the what?
My son I took him with me to see it, and at that line when everybody popped, he did the kind of look around like he'd never saw any Alien movie at all.
What do you think of it?
He liked it. He liked the whole scary. He thought it was just like that was a really scary movie in space.
Yeah.
That's all he really got from it. It's just,
And all this, I was watching some of the Prometheus and the other one, and it's just like all this is like stuff we don't care about. Michael Myers in school and killing rabbits and all that stuff. We didn't care about that. We don't want to know why the serial killer is crazy and whatever. It's just like this was the most dangerous alien we have ever encountered in space, and he's a slasher killer. He's got acid blood. You can't even fight him because he's got acid blood. That's all we need to know. And it set up so much backstory, which I think this one utilized just enough,
Yeah.
to get us away from that. It's like we don't need to think. Alien's not a thinker movie.
No.
And the last two tried to be really thinker movies. It's like this is a slasher franchise, y'all.
Yeah.
Take it down a notch.
No, you're right. The whole evolution and the way that they kind of dug into that. And I feel like audiences responded to that. Even though Prometheus had a really good opening weekend, I just felt like the whole thing just started a steady decline after that. Even though Fassbender did good. I mean, it's not that it wasn't bad, and I think it's a nice entry, but it even feels like those two could have been possibly one.
It's just like you're so precious with your backstory that you don't want to make any decisions.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're just leaving things vague, and I think that's why those turned out. This is sort of borrowing from the spirit of the first one, and then taking a little bit of the zest of the second one, pulling it back from those two, and giving us a good entertaining movie. A lot of people don't like it. They felt it was too nostalgic, too much of fan service going on. But I mean, this one felt right to me.
Again, why is that a bad thing? Like, why is rewarding fans that keep up the lore a bad thing?
It
comes off as everyone when you say it, it comes off as just like that's bad.
Yeah.
And I understand, and like even James Gunn came out and talked about, he's tired of cameo porn. And at first I was like, wait, what are you talking about, James Gunn?
What site is that?
Yeah, is that a different section of Cameo that I haven't been to? But he's like, no.
What's up, Anthony?
What's up, Anthony? He's like, you are going to have characters in there, but they are going to be part of the story.
Yeah.
To make that. But like, again, if it's just a nice thing to just kind of insert in there at the end, then what's the big deal? Like, what's the harm? As long as it doesn't sacrifice or take away from the story. And I feel like nothing they did of the wink, wink, nod, nod to any of the Alien movies in this took away from this story. Because like I said, I took my son. He never saw any of them. And he had a good time. And he liked it.
Yeah.
And now he's like, oh, maybe I should go back and watch the others.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't deter from anything that I was like, well, Rook was actually, another version of an android from the first one. And like, none of that hurt the story. But so it's important for the director to understand that, not just throw it in there where, like, the Acolyte, right?
Yeah.
We're just like, we're going to give a really bad story, but don't worry, Yoda's going to pop up at the end.
Right.
And to the point where people are just like, oh, God, no, keep him out of the story.
Yeah.
Because the story didn't honor anything before. And that's what it comes back to what I was talking about earlier. You just have to, why not just honor what came before? Don't crap on it.
Yeah, in the Rook situation, I just feel like it could have been anybody.
There was a better opportunity.
It could have been anybody. It could have been a brand new actor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it was not even really Ash from the first one. It was Rook, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think because you're just doing all this to bring back a dead person. It's just like, well, I mean, why not just Bishop from Alien? He's alive. You could do him, and just it's similar. You know what I mean? He's a pre-version of Bishop. And they could have just been another android. Why not?
Yeah.
I'm sure Fassbender was too expensive, and I get that.
Maybe, and I don't know if they were trying to.
It could have been Bruce Campbell.
Could have been, right?
Yeah. Get him in there. But I just think it was unnecessary because it's like, to us, we see it, it's like, oh, great, and it's that guy. But like to your son, it's just like he's never seen Alien, so what does it matter who's playing him?
So you think that they made that choice because this took place after Alien and before Aliens, and if you look at it, like, maybe that's just the standard model that's out right then?
That was one of the standard models, right?
Right, maybe that's why, but I don't know. I would vote for Bishop just because I told you this before. My sister-in-law, her uncle is Lance Henriksen. So, I mean,
oh, really?
Yeah, shout out to Danielle. So I would 100% would have voted for that because I just feel like, yeah.
That makes sense to me.
Keep it in the family, man.
It just seems like that would have been, they could have been, yeah, I feel like, maybe Lance Henriksen's quote was too much too.
Yeah, I don't know.
And it was the estate of Ian Holm was less. But I don't know. Wasn't he in Hobbit? He's got to have a big, he's got to have a big rate as well. So I don't know. I just don't think that part was absolutely necessary. Could have gone another way.
Yeah. But again, we're going to go through, like, we're not going to go through just the best and the worst. We're going to do a little bit of the best, a little bit of the worst. But I would consider this more of a win than an L. Not only box office wise, but entertainment wise. Because we know there's a lot of whiffs. And I think you're a pretty good gauge of what's going to be a whiff. And I think, I keep triple checking. It's like, are you sure you're not going to go see Crow? And I'm just, and I think that's going to be the whiff. But riddle me this, Batman. Why doesn't Hollywood not just clean it up, give us a 4K restoration, or give us another print or something, and just do one of the R's that's not on our list, a re-release? Why are re-releases not a thing?
I think they're a little bit of a thing.
Yeah.
Especially nowadays as theaters are struggling, re-releases do fairly, good business for them.
Right?
So they did re-release The Crow earlier this year.
They did, right?
Yeah, because they put out a 4K DVD, which I haven't got yet, but...
when they do these special re-releases, I know a lot of times it's a Fathom event or it's a special event. Have they ever done just a wide re-release? And like, you know what? Crow is going to get a lot more love, maybe more than it did in 1997. So we're going to get that on 3,000 screens.
Yeah.
Would they not do that? Like just straight up release the trailers?
3,000 screens? No, I don't think so. No, I don't think that's I mean, movie theaters would not do that. Like they're not going to want to give up their high retail space for an old movie. I mean, you want to put that in the theaters in the back that have less traffic, but like, you know, the main theaters, they got their top 4. Those got to have the most current, biggest movies.
You just think that like new fans, like there's probably fans that weren't even alive where a lot of these movies are released, that's not going to be considered new to them?
No, okay, if you're going to spend $100 million on marketing the re-release, maybe.
Right.
You know what I mean? But if you're not, then it's not going to matter.
Which they don't. Yeah, they don't, like any of these re-releases, they very rarely get big marketing bucks.
Yeah.
It does when it's like the Star Wars re-releases got big marketing bucks. Titanic and Avatar got some marketing bucks behind that, and you know, and I guess if it makes sense when a new one's about to come out, they'll throw a little marketing bucks, but they won't just grab a movie that did okay in their library and they just won't roll the dice, even though I feel like it's not that much more money to spend. But they take these bigger bets and they'll take the bigger whiffs, but there's too many people that I guess that are playing it safe.
Yeah.
But that always just wondered, because my least favorite is the straight up remake, you know, and we'll go through some of that list right now. I just feel like, no, you're you're again, but let's just talk about the first one, right? Because it's the most recent one that popped into my head is Roadhouse, right? That didn't it didn't honor the original one at all. Like, other than like naming one of the bars in the background after that, but like you said, it was a fine movie if they just called it Bouncer.
Yeah.
I mean, or could they have just made that, recalled that a little bit and just keep it just tie it together a little bit to the original instead of just trying to remake that? I mean, why? Again, it's not that I disliked it, and I think Jake Gyllenhaal, but it was so different. But couldn't you just do something that kind of just tied it a little bit? Like Twisters. Like Twisters was the perfect example of just like people didn't even know that was technically that was just a sequel.
It had absolutely nothing to do with it.
But it had absolutely nothing to do with it. And I thought the wink wink was just like Dorothy number 4. We saw Dorothy number 1 through 3 in Twisters, and that was it. But for me, that was all I needed. And now okay, we're off to a new adventure. Different state, same tech. That's all how it's tied together.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like we could have just like, I heard about this one bouncer before. I read his book. He released a book afterwards, and I have the book in my back pocket. Just that would have been enough.
What didn't make sense to me is that the entire thing, the entire premise of Roadhouse Swayze is that he is the greatest bouncer of all time.
Yeah.
So much so that he's known throughout the bouncer community and the bar community. They have all heard of Dalton. He's the guy who you do not trifle with at his bar. Right?
Right.
So he gets recruited to come clean up this bar. This is like Jake Gyllenhaal's just like a scoundrel living in his car, you know, doing bar fights.
Yeah.
And he gets sort of just pulled into this whole let's clean up this bar thing. That's what doesn't make sense to me, you know? And like in Roadhouse Swayze, it's like what they tried to do was take bouncing and turn it into like martial arts.
Yes.
He was a Zen bouncer who was teaching these guys how to use their bouncing skills.
Just be nice until it's time to not be nice.
Exactly.
Right? Where I think Gyllenhaal was just, it was different. I mean, it was definitely a different style, but like you said, it had nothing to do with really the art of bouncing.
No, not at all.
The zen of bouncing.
Yeah. He was just an ex-MMA fighter who got his first job as a bouncer. Now, it's still a fine movie. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, it was still, again,
But
not
like,
a bad movie.
I would rather be if I had seen it. It was called Bouncer. I'd be like, oh, that's cool. We got Bouncer 2 coming out. Oh, nice. Okay. I wonder where he's going to go work next.
That's a good title too.
Bouncer 2 sounds great.
Yeah, I totally would see Bouncer 2.
So now it's going to be Roadhouse. So is he going to go to another Roadhouse now?
Right.
Is that the only place he can work?
Right. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
Is he going to start investing in these bars? Like, what's the retirement plan? I mean, there's a lot of. Oh yeah, because he just hopped on the bus and left, right?
Pretty much.
So he's going to do the David Banner, not the Bruce Banner TV series. David Banner just going to go from bar to bar.
I suppose. I don't know. But like, he's only had one bouncer job. It's not like he has a resume or any like references. I mean, he blew up the bar he was at. Like, he destroyed it.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have any references or anything. He's just a scoundrel.
Yeah.
So he's not Dalton.
No.
He's not Dalton.
No.
In my opinion. But still, a fine movie.
Yeah. But
So this is just a mess. This is a case of the IP crushing the original premise.
This was a tall order. This is like, I mean, this one really is a legendary movie. I don't even feel like it was as legendary when it came out as it is now. Like, as time went on.
No, it was a bit of a flop, I think. I mean,
Right?
it was like one of those moderate hits. Back in the day when you can have a moderate hit,
Yeah.
where you would like make a movie and it made most of your money back at the box office, but on VHS it just destroyed. So it was a hit.
Oh man.
And that doesn't exist anymore.
No, that doesn't.
But yeah, it was just one of those films.
But if Jake Gyllenhaal wakes up in Bouncer 2, or call it Roadhouse Bouncer 2, and he's reading The Art of Bouncing from Dalton, who wrote a book, you know, in his retirement age, I need that wink wink. I need the completist. I need the nod.
Yeah.
Yeah, Anthony said when he's escaped he escaped the hospital. Oh man. Now, so some of these remakes, we talk about a lot of international films that you might not even realize that they were remakes. And this one, the first one on the list here was
Which list are you on?
I'm on that first one. That let's go through Thought Catalog.
Okay.
So that first one is The Departed. Martin Scorsese's The Departed was actually a remake of the Hong Kong thriller Infernal Affairs.
Not just a thriller, but like a series.
Yeah. Oh, it was a whole series. No, I didn't
There's like 3 Infernal Affairs, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So I didn't see any of them.
Yeah.
And you said they were really good.
I only saw Infernal Affairs 1. And this was back in, I think I had it on, it wasn't DVD. It was one of the other ones. But when DVD, there was like some Divx.
Oh, Divx.
I think I had it on Divx. And that's a great movie. Now, The Departed is a fine remake of it, but it's not as good as Infernal Affairs.
Yeah, and there was a pretty close release dates, right? I feel like they were not too far apart.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. Just some of them get flipped really fast, and I don't remember this was a fast flip. But to me, I mean, Departed, again, you had great casting. You know, having Jack Nicholson in full-on mafia heel was great, and I think this probably has one of the biggest shocks. And I don't know if this happened in Infernal Affairs, but to have Leo DiCaprio, when that elevator door opened, I don't know about you, and I didn't know what was coming. I was completely shocked. Like, did that not like knock your socks off, that scene, just to see that?
Oh yeah.
I feel like that was such a huge deal.
Well, it hits harder because Andy Lau is huge in Hong Kong, so it definitely hit as hard there. But it hits harder when you know it's like the most famous person in the movie there.
Right.
Is taking a hit at the end. So let's see. Infernal Affairs was 2002.
And then Departed was 2006.
2006.
That's a 4-year flip.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a lot easier to flip those foreign remakes, and those are remakes, straightforward remakes.
Yeah. And it's interesting that when, like, now, I feel like, would that happen a lot less now? Because I think the film market as a whole has really shrunk in the sense where we keep tabs not only on domestic box office. We know when there's a big, huge hit, like say like RRR. Like, would you remake something like RRR? Have an American remake of that? Or
I don't think you can remake RR because it's so driven by the cultural history. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like that, what's his name from RRR is in a kids show on Netflix right now. He's the Mighty Beam.
right.
So I don't think you could do that, but I mean, I think that's more in line for like not a reboot, remake, or a requel. That would be like let's get Rajamouli in the U.S. movie.
Yeah,
What's up, B Rose?
yeah. And he's
Streaming's
right.
taking over remakes. Yeah,
And it's really has changed the game altogether. Like, we don't even have to pull up anything on this, but like Poltergeist had a film remake, and now it has a series remake coming, and that's going to be straight to streaming, and you're not even know if anyone's going to see it.
what is it? Poltergeist?
Poltergeist, yeah. I mean, you had the Sam Rockwell remake in like 2016, and now you got a series that's about to take over. I was like, man, that they really are just dipping into.
They're trying to make Train to Busan for U.S. What the hell for?
Yeah, and it's just like, why not? Why not just release Train to Busan? Like, now just get it some U.S. distribution and then let it rip. I mean, I think Squid Games has kind of proved that, like, you can. This is a more sophisticated audience in the sense that they're not going to sweat if something is subbed or dubbed. If it's good, it's good, and just let it go. Where I feel like that never would have flew before.
Well, I think it'll fly in streaming, but it won't fly in theaters.
In theaters, you don't think?
No. You've got to make people feel like it's a cultural event to get them to theater. You and I go to theater every week, so we don't have the same kind of
That's true.
discrepancy here, But for the average person probably goes to the movies 3 or 4 times a year. Can you believe that?
That's wild.
Can you believe that?
No, I can't believe that.
They probably go like 3 or 4 times, maybe 5 times a year tops.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like it takes a lot. It takes Barbie. It takes that they're gonna get there and they're gonna be dressed up like Barbie. They're gonna take selfies, or they're gonna go dressed as Iron Man, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's got to be an event.
No, you're right.
And it's like without spending $100 million on marketing this old movie, people are not gonna care.
Yeah, because I mean, even like, we're going back a little bit, like to 2000. Like, yeah, I went and saw Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragons on, subtitled, and I was like, yeah, they were playing Keep Away with a comb for like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And I was okay with it, but it felt like. But you're absolutely right. I think the next event coming up is the Beetlejuice sequel. I think people are going to dress up. It has to feel like that event. But
I think people, I can't wait to get the Beetlejuice Fantas.
oh yeah,
There's
that's gonna be
Fanta
good.
sodas. Oh, they're out there anyway.
Yeah, that is going to be good.
No, but that's one. And then, of course, the popcorn buckets are aiding in all this. So that's creating a cultural event.
Yes. Yeah, that is. They need to thank Dune for that, because now every film is coming out with that. Yeah, B-Rose got Godzilla -1 showed audience will go for subtitled movies,
Yeah.
right?
I would say that was slightly nerd driven. You know what I mean?
For Godzilla.
Yeah, I think that it did cross over a little bit into the mainstream, but not like huge. I'm not sure what the final box office, but it got that Oscar cred now.
Yeah.
And of course, it's probably super huge on Netflix now. Although, did you know Netflix has worked?
What do you mean?
I
know they hide their data and their stats.
They hide their data and their stats, but also they have their top 10 list. That actually is something that movies pay for, to be in the top 10 for a certain amount of time.
That sucks.
Yeah.
I don't want that.
It's not a ranking. It's a paid sort of like position.
Don't want. That sucks.
Yeah.
Don't like that at all.
Yeah.
That needs to be like labeled as sponsored, but I mean, no one's going to do anything.
Every time I turn on Netflix, it's like I'll scroll and it's like I don't know what to choose, and I'll choose some documentary. It's like, oh, my roommate is a psycho, and then it's just like I'll start that, and it's like, God, this is 8 episodes of this. No, I'm not going to watch this. Like, just give me a 1 hour. My roommate is a psycho. Tubi knows what they're doing.
Tubi does know what to do.
What's up, Kralax? It's okay.
It's Wednesday.
We're kind of like running behind anyway.
Yeah,
we're on
behind.
East Coast time, West Coast time.
So here's an interesting one next on the list to talk about. We're talking about like international films. So this was a remake from a 1973 British horror movie, The Wicker Man, with Nicolas Cage. Now I feel like this is a good idea and a ripe for something that you can remake.
Why?
Because what are the odds that how many of the current film going audience saw a 1973 British horror movie? You know, now granted, I think it's better if you can come up with something original, but if you are going to do a remake and not just remaster the original, then it has this one to me. It had enough time, right? It had almost 40 years, and it was a little bit more obscure.
To me, well, obviously, did you see this movie? Mm-hmm. Did you enjoy this movie, or you think it was bad? Because most people think it's bad.
Well,
it's a meme.
It's a meme. That's I was just gonna say it's a meme.
This
right?
movie's a meme.
I mean this movie is famous because of bees, right?
Just the line of the bees.
Yeah, not
just
the
him
bees.
saying the bees over and over. Nicolas Cage saying the bees over and over. But like to me, I didn't see this movie honestly.
No.
I just slipped through the cracks and then became a meme, and I didn't want to watch the meme movie. But like, when I think about it, to me, it doesn't make sense to remake The Wicker Man because it's all based on a twist. So like, the twist is out there in public domain. So why remake this movie unless you're changing the twist? I don't know.
Yeah. Which
what's the twist in Wicker Man is he's been investigating this whole time. He turns out to be the sacrifice.
Right.
To me, a better remake of Wicker Man is Midsommar.
Right. Okay. Yeah. No, that's fair.
Yeah.
That is really good.
Remake The Sixth Sense and Willis Ain't a Ghost. Yeah.
That's a nice twist.
Yeah.
It does. The remaking of the twist is hard, right? Because
You can't remake twists. That's the thing.
It's tough.
You
man.
got to leave the twist alone.
Because think about this, right? So this was a straight up remake, and it's not on this list that I saw, but Planet of the Apes remake with Mark Wahlberg and Tim Burton. Everybody was waiting to see what that twist was going to be, but they knew it wasn't going to be a twist. And was that a better twist or a worse twist? And I don't know.
Lincoln.
Yeah, Abe Lincoln was the twist.
That didn't make. Did you get it? I don't even know what that meant.
That they went to a planet, and again, and this was 2001 when I don't think people even started talking about timelines. Now, if you look back, you're like, oh, did he jump to a different timeline? But back then, we did not have the benefit of being taught about timelines.
No.
Necessarily. So we might have like, what the hell?
Yeah.
So now he's on a planet where he already took over and he's Abe Lincoln?
The practical effects in that movie are really good, but for the most part, it's unwatchable.
Yeah. I don't remember rewatching that movie at more than once or twice.
It's funny if you look at that movie, because that I feel like that was like the last big movie to come out before 9/11 happened.
Oh yeah, it was.
So if you watch that movie and then you watch the reboot, The Rise of the Planet of the Apes, the perspective has changed a lot.
100%, yeah.
The perspective of the average public or the screenwriter, whatever.
Yeah, they almost were going for that, like it was a campier sci-fi before that.
They were trying to do the old movies.
Yeah.
And sort of like, because the thing is, Tim Burton loves old movies, right? He loves old stuff and that style. I think he was really going for that. And like I said, the practical effects are really good. But the Matt Reeves remakes, reboots, trilogy, whatever, that really nailed it for me.
Oh, yeah.
This one was just like an outlier. And Mark Wahlberg, why is he in this movie?
Yeah, I don't know. It didn't work. It didn't work.
Anyway, we were talking about Wicker Man.
Yeah. No, there was nothing more beyond Wicker Man other than it was a meme. So the next one is an interesting one because I don't even think when people think of this movie, they don't even think that it's a remake from a 1932 classic, right? So Scarface. Because now it's like, okay, 1983 classic Scarface, but I didn't see the 1932 Scarface, but I feel like it had nothing to do, and it was probably not even similar to that, other than they were both considered mafia. But would you even consider Tony Montana mafia? Right? Because that's not organized. It was more chaotic crime.
They were pretty organized. I don't know.
Right?
They had the money counters and the
Oh,
Push it to the limit.
push it.
I feel like they were pretty organized. I don't know if it was I think it's a remake in name only.
Yeah.
Because I never saw the original Scarface, but I remember, Griffin Dunn watching it in Johnny Dangerously.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. That's how I know what that film is. And they did instead of Scarface loved his mom, he loved his sister.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I feel like that's a classic on its own for different reasons. I don't think anybody ever acknowledges that that's a remake of 1932 Scarface.
No, that movie scares me that I feel like someone else is going to try to remake 1983 Scarface.
Let's get a Scarface sequel.
Yeah.
Tony had a kid, surely.
He had to have had a kid.
He had to have multiple kids. Yeah, somebody.
I feel like a Requel? Yeah, I would be behind that, but just don't remake that.
Yeah. Give me Scarface 2.
Yes.
Don't give it a subtitle.
No.
Scarface 2.
2, that's Oh, that's an interesting one that Mike brought up that I completely forgot about, and that's not on our list here either. It's just like the Romeo and Juliet, the Baz Romeo and Juliet remake.
Oh,
right?
man. That's one of those movies that is so 90s it just can't help itself. It's like, it's in there with that's why I'm so against the Crow remake. I just think that movie is a product of the 90s.
Yeah.
It can't be remade. You can't really touch it. You have to leave it alone. Now, like, the Scarface. I'm sorry, not Scarface. Scarfaces. The Romeo and Juliet remake, which is, and again, is this a remake or is this just another
reimagining?
Version? Because it's the book. They're doing the book, right? Or
right.
The play?
Yeah, the play.
Because how do you remember Romeo and Juliet? It was the movie in school that they showed you that had boobs in it, right? And then you had this like super stylish, extremely 90s version. And like if you watch it now, like some of the things Baz Luhrmann did, they're a little iffy. Some of the filmmaking techniques he used. I think you could go either way on them now. But it just, of its time, with the soundtrack,
I wore out that soundtrack.
It was just perfect. It was perfect. It was somewhere in between My So-Called Life and Titanic. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's just a product of its time and place. And it's just, I think we'll get another Romeo and Juliet eventually.
Oh, yeah. That's the story they can tell.
It'll be like AI Romeo and Juliet.
God, that sounds terrific.
Or something like that.
I tell you, that soundtrack, though, like any song in there literally is a time. It's like a time machine, man. It just takes you back to that moment.
And maybe it's just if you were of the CD era.
Oh, yeah.
Which is the I know vinyl is very popular, but the CD is on the top of the evolutionary scale of physical media.
Right.
The CD is at top. Vinyl's here and CD's here. If CDs looked cooler, we'd do CDs instead.
Yeah, because they still had the cool box art. It was just smaller.
It was just smaller. And you couldn't see it spin.
Yeah.
But if we had the same thing where you could see your CD, and it spins really fast. Like if you get a cool record, it's got a cool design on it. It spins slow enough for you to watch the design.
Got a little bit of a wobble.
The CD's spinning like really, really fast. So it'd have to have like an optical illusion on it to create some effect. But it's doable.
Yeah, it is. It's very doable. This one, on this article here was labeled as the worst, and I have to agree, and that surprised me because it had Steve Martin, but like Steve Martin remaking Pink Panther felt so unnecessary.
I did not even see it.
It felt so unnecessary.
That's awful.
No,
that's horrible.
I mean, you can't. I mean, I don't know about you with your siblings, but we attacked each other all the time, like he did with Peter Sellers. Like every time, he was just like, attack me whenever you get home. Like it was so hard to recreate something like that, and I knew that it just felt, I don't know, it just felt, everything about it felt wrong. And if I remember correctly, I think he did a bad accent too.
It was a horrible accent.
Yeah,
like the trailers were so off-putting. I never went to see it.
No.
I did not see that. I did not see the sequel. I had zero interest in that the entire time.
Yeah. No, that's probably all we got to say about that.
Yeah, move on.
Yeah. Here's one that's really good. I mean, a really good remake. And again, coming back from one that probably 50 years later was The Fly. I mean, Brundlefly changed everything because this you're noticing the pattern with these remakes that are actually good are the ones that are reimagining, because this was nothing like the original Fly, where you had the human head in the spider web saying help me at the end. I mean, Brundlefly was something that was like terrifying. And did you see that it went viral, I think last week, that Jeff Goldblum was like hosting one of the late night shows and a fly landed on the table, and he was able to like literally talk to the fly like they had a kinship, and he was able to scoop it up, and he walked in, he's like, I have a relationship with flies. I don't know if you know this, but I was in the fly and I was able to talk to this fly. Can you imagine just going under and scooping up a fly, and he walked it out the door, and it was not a work.
Yeah.
But this is one of his, I mean, this is really, it just changed the game for me. Like, you didn't expect anything about that when you saw this, of just like the arm wrestling scene, the barfing on food, the whole he's just doing that, and Brundlefly. I mean, everything about this was great.
Yeah, and I think it was, again, also kind of a product of its time, you know what I mean? It's just like, sort of, because the first one you watch it, it all kind of takes place in one room. It's on the set, and it's just like, the scientist passing notes to his wife. That's pretty much the whole movie. Yeah. That's pretty much The Fly, the entire movie. That's what it is.
What, the 58 Fly?
The 58 Fly.
Yeah.
And then you just get the twist at the end where she pulls the hood off him and he's a fly man. And then you see the tiny fly man on the web. And that was it. That was it. They had that idea, and they built the whole movie around that, and they filmed it on some standing set. This is like sort of like a metaphor, or just sort of a version of just like disease, and seeing somebody just deteriorate in front of you. You know, it's just out of their control, and their body's just deteriorating. AIDS was a big topic at the time, so I think that filters in here. But if you watched it, what I really like about this movie, because I did watch it not too long ago, this is why, if you can afford it, you should have cable. Cable with all the pay channels, because movies just come on at random, and you're just like, I haven't seen this, and it just turns out I saw The Fly not too long ago. But like,
curated,
it is extreme. Like, this movie is like 90 minutes long. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You watch it, and it's like the first scene, he's talking to Gina Davis about his experiment. That's the first scene of the movie. There's no like, oh, I work at a newspaper. What am I going to do? What am I going to write a story about? Hey, you got to go to this thing and write a story about this. It's like, no, it's like the very first scene. They're just already talking about it. And they get right into it. The experiment, everything happens, and then we're out of there in 93 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's great.
Yeah, it was a nice, fast turnaround. It's an Oscar winner for Best Makeup. I think Mike said, yeah, this probably hands down Cronenberg's most mainstream body horror.
I think so.
For sure. And I guess this does fall under body horror.
Yeah.
The practical effects were just on point. But be afraid, be very afraid. Feels like it's still, you'll get a lot of people's attention saying that. Like, everything about this, the script was on point. The performances were all really good, and like you said, 90 minutes in and out. And they were talking, and this is 1986, and they were working on a teleportation device, which I thought was a nice twist, right?
I mean, that's what they were working on in 58,
right? It was teleportation too.
Yeah, it was the same. It's the same premise.
Oh, I didn't know that they were doing teleportation in there. I thought it was more like the Willy Wonka, just turning into the ones and zeros and try to transport each. But it was, you didn't really have to really geek out to understand what happened when you realized that all the DNA kind of got mishmashed in there too. So that was this was considered a great reimagining.
Or a remake.
Remake, yeah.
Produced by Mel Brooks.
Mel Brooks produced The Fly?
Mel Brooks used to produce good stuff, and he produced like this and Blue Velvet. I think he produced Dune.
What? That's awesome. I had no idea.
He had a lot of cred.
He's the man.
But yeah, this is definitely one of the better remakes that exists in history. Good selection here.
This one, I'm curious on what you think of this one, and I finally did rewatch it. Total Recall, that remake. What are your thoughts on that?
I didn't watch it.
You didn't even watch it?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm not a fan of the director, Les Wiseman. I think I've never liked any of his films. I saw that was coming out. Nope, I do not watch it. I am a huge mark for Verhoeven.
Yeah.
That's probably in my directors, that's top 3. So nope, I did not watch that at all.
Yeah, and it's probably honestly for the best. Don't
I'm
even
positive. I
bother.
knew it was for the best. There's just
Yeah.
no way I was going to watch it.
It's just Colin Farrell went back to back on, to me, just like, you got to really be careful when you're treading holy ground. And to me, yeah, Total Recall, and then he did Fright Night as well.
I heard Fright Night was good though.
It was okay, but it's just like, what was wrong with the original?
I don't know.
Right? Why did it need that? Like, did we need that?
Why have we gotten Fright Night but not Lost Boys? That seems to be more ripe for a remake.
Right.
That's like Stranger Things with vampires.
Yeah.
Wait. Is there?
There's a
Can you
pitch right
tag?
there.
Can you tag a Hollywood exec in that right now?
Stranger Things with vampires?
Yeah,
Oh my god,
easy.
dude. You just made Netflix so much money. Now somebody's just scribbling that down right
Someone's
now.
writing that down on a napkin right now.
That is a great pitch.
But like, I didn't see the Fright Night remake either. But I'm a fan of Anton Chicklin or whatever. But I heard it was good.
It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad, but I just felt like it felt unnecessary.
Yeah.
Like, again,
Am I the only one that prefers Fright Night 2 to Fright Night 1?
possibly. Yeah, I mean,
I kind of like Fright Night 2
you like
better.
Friday Night 2 better?
Yeah.
What did everyone? Charlie Babbitt? Was it all continuation? Same
Yeah, but
character?
it was like a revenge. She was coming to get revenge for her brother.
Oh, did it have Marcy from Married with Children as?
No, I
girlfriend
think she was
still?
out of the picture
She
at
was
this
gone?
point. Yeah. Yeah, so you had our main guy was the one turning vampire. You never saw Fright Night 2?
If I did, I don't remember it. Yeah,
Need Fright Night screening. I don't know. I kind of think part 2's better.
part 2's better. Now
Yeah.
I'm interested because I kind of.
I kind of think House 2 is better than House.
Oh really?
Yeah,
Ding dong, you're dead.
yeah. Great tagline, but
Yeah, it is. What about the Ocean 11 series? I mean, obviously that was a remake of the 60s. I feel like the Ocean 11 60s and then the current Ocean's 11s, they felt like different properties altogether, even though they were remakes. Products of their time, right? You just felt the Rat Pack was supposed to be in Vegas.
yeah, it was basically the Rat Pack in Vegas. The funny thing about that remake is like you watch the original Ocean's 11, which is, I mean, it's entertaining if you're into the Rat Pack, but like essentially they just hold up the casino with machine guns.
Right.
That's pretty much it. There's no heist. There's no intricate plot. We're just gonna walk in there and with machine guns we're gonna rob the casino. That's it. Wearing masks? No. We're all gonna have just martinis. Where it's like, you know, Ocean's 11 was like sort of the plotting and the planning and the soundtrack and, you know, assembling the crew. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That pretty much solidified the building the crew montage. You know,
You
in pop
son of a bitch,
I'm in. Exactly.
Yeah, the new one's kind of, I like the, one of my favorite 80s movies, Low Key, FX from 1986. I kind of love that idea, the Brian Brown movie. Because I felt like they started getting a little bit into like a lot of the face swapping and doing the special effects to trick people. Yeah.
Again, I think FX2 is better.
FX.
Wait, Kralak said Soderbergh's Ocean 11 trilogy is the commercial expression of all his favorite tropes. Holds a special place in my heart. It's true.
Oh, he also said that there's an episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark based on Fright Night that's better than Fright Night Remake.
Oh.
I mean, that's got to be good. I'd love to see the Are You Afraid of the Dark version of that. And I don't remember. Oh, yeah, I do. I think I do see FX too.
FX2 is good.
Yeah. That's a low-key great film series. All right, next up we got... This is one I don't think I saw either, but I'd be curious because I'm pretty sure you saw it. I did not see the remake or the OG of Old Boy.
You never saw Old Boy.
Yeah, neither
Oh,
Old
wow.
Boys.
Well, you don't need to see the Josh Brolin version at
No.
all. I'm pretty sure. I think there's another remake on the way. Yeah, Old Boy. Old Boy's. It's great, but again, it's of its time and place, and it's intense. And the twists in this movie, the swerves, are damaging. They will hurt you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the things that take place in this movie. But just on the premise, you know what the premise is, right? Mm-mm. You don't know what the premise of Oldboy is?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay, so this is the premise of Oldboy. Imagine you are the main character in Oldboy, right?
Right.
You're just a businessman going to work. You get drunk one night at a bar, and you get abducted, and you're locked in a hotel room for 15 years. And no one ever tells you why or for what. And then they just let you out.
What? That's it?
That's the premise of Oldboy, yeah.
Wow, no, I never seen it.
Yeah.
I mean, I know of it, and I know it's of legendary status, and then I knew of the remake, but it's just one of those movies I just never got around to watching.
So the whole first act is just him locked up in this hotel room thinking for 15 years.
What the hell? Feeding them? Getting them to just...
They feed him, they groom him, they gas him and like knock him out, trim his toenails and all that stuff. He has no reason why he's in this prison, but he's got nothing but a television. He's watching like 9/11 happen on TV and like just punching the wall. He just draws a guy on the wall and punches the wall for 15 years. So by the time he comes out, he's got his fists are like, rock solids,
Oh, I feel like I need to watch that immediately.
Oldboy is amazing. So then the entire rest of the movie is like, why did that just happen?
Yeah, and they just let him out, no explanation.
Exactly, and that's what
wow.
you're trying to figure out. And like I said, the swerves, the twists, that the reveals in this movie will break you.
Really?
Yeah. Now the Josh Brolin remake. Oh man, I had hope for it when I heard Spike Lee was doing it. I was like, that's a good director. Maybe he's gonna do something. But it's horrible.
It misses.
It's just horrible. It's just I just don't even acknowledge that it's a movie.
It's just
It was just an idea that never happened. But like, it's the worst. It's just the absolute worst. And Oldboy's known for that one. That it has one fight scene that is legendary.
the hammer.
The hammer hallway fight scene.
Yeah.
Which Deadpool and Wolverine just copied. They basically referenced it in Deadpool and Wolverine.
Oh, yeah.
When they're fighting the Wolverine, the Deadpool squad. If you watch Oldboy, you'll get it. But like, yeah, it's one of the biggest, most influential movies of all time, I would say.
Oh man. I like why is Oldboy hard to watch? Google.
Yeah.
It's enough to cause mild to severe discomfort if anyone watches it.
Huge discomfort.
All right.
Yeah. The reveals in this movie, and just like our main character Ojasao, like there's a scene where he comes out, and he's just so like he's been so robbed of. He's just had no interaction with other human beings for 15 years, And there's a scene where he just gets on an elevator and there's a woman in there, and he hasn't seen a woman for 15 years, and he's freaking out, and he's just pressed against the wall, just trying to he just yeah.
Oh man,
And
I gotta watch that.
He eats a live octopus because he wants to feel it die.
You have a DVD of that?
Yeah,
Might have to snag that from you.
I got it up in the screen room
I
for
might
sure.
have to borrow that.
Yeah.
All right, next one is actually a remade four times, but the last one, Academy Award noms in house, was A Star Is Born. What are your thoughts on the A Star Is Born? What was the '80s one?
The 80s one was Chris Christopherson
That was
and
it, yeah.
Bette Midler.
Okay.
And that's probably the only other one I saw. I didn't see the other ones. Unless you consider Showgirls a remake of Stars Born, which I think it is.
It kinda
technically.
is, right?
Yeah. It's sort of a takeoff on it.
I don't know. I mean, obviously, I think we know how songs can affect, and that song really did bring that movie, I think, into a different stratosphere. But it was a great movie, great performance. It was a. I was trying to find when the other ones were made. Is it really straight up 4 films?
Yeah,
There's
I think it's
2018, 1976, 1937, and 1954. Okay,
Yeah.
so they did not see that. I did probably watch the 76 one once, and I've watched the 2018 one at least once. So,
yeah.
But I guess is this whatever reason this one resonates kind of like a Shakespeare story, that it feels something that a tragedy that you can tell over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty universal. And then just because it's about music, the style in music can change over the course of decades, right? The remakes, it's all sort of like built around the music soundtrack.
Which makes sense. Sell some music, or now stream some music. Next one, if you want, is another desecration of Patrick Swayze, Point Break. There was a remake in 2015 that I didn't even watch.
Didn't see it.
No,
No.
and it probably should just stay away.
Yeah. No reason to watch that. I can't imagine one.
This one's interesting. Can you think of how many times they've remade John Wayne movies?
Just one.
True Grit?
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
the only one I can think of.
I feel like that. I'm surprised, although Westerns.
John Wayne's pretty big. He's pretty big.
Yeah.
To remake his performances would be tough. You got to be the Coen brothers to take a leap like that.
Yeah, they take that shot.
Yeah. The Coen brothers with Jeff Bridges.
And right now, the only ones making Westerns are Kevin Costner and Clint Eastwood, right?
Yeah, and Tyler Sheridan. Or
Tyler
whoever.
Sheridan, yeah.
Harrison Ford.
What did you like True Grit? That was the one that had Jeff Bridges, right?
I thought it was fine. Yeah, I just kind of thought it was fine. It's not my favorite Coen Brothers Western. But, I love Jeff Bridges' performance in it. Josh Brolin. Great performances all around.
Yeah.
I got no heat with True Grit.
All right.
Sometimes it comes on TNT and I'll watch it, sure. I recognize a lot of the extras because they shot it here in Austin.
Oh, that's right. That was shot here.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to skip this next one because I don't skip. I guess because I wouldn't consider this a remake. This is. Oh, wait. I wonder which one they're talking about. Ghostbusters. One is a remake and one is a requel.
Wait,
So
which
the,
is.
the female one is the remake, right?
Right.
And then the Paul Rudd one is the requel,
Yeah.
right? And then why did I felt it did feel like that the cast on that female Ghostbusters reboot was a slam dunk. Why did that not work? Besides,
Well, I mean, it felt like a slam dunk because they were coming off of all those comedies they just did together.
yeah.
All those Paul Feig comedies. I don't know. I mean, I've said this like a bunch of times on the show. Ghostbusters is a movie you can't remake or requel or do anything with
Yeah.
because it's a complete accident. That movie exists by accident.
Yeah.
You can't do anything with it, and it's just. Yeah, and I'm sure they'll do more. I'm sure they'll do more requel sequels, but you just can't recreate that.
No.
It's done, and like the 2016 was probably the best stab at it.
I think they knew how it got created to begin with.
No,
either,
like
right?
Eddie, Bill
John
Murray. Bill Murray didn't want to be there.
Yeah.
He thought he was about to win an Oscar, and he thought he was slumming it being in Ghostbusters so much so that he didn't even say the lines that were in the script. Just ad-libbed every line. They shot it in New York proper, so there was a lot of like actual street extras.
That is wild.
It's just yeah, you can't recreate Ghostbusters. It was a one and done. Ghostbusters 2 exists, and I acknowledge it, but other than that, everything else.
The rest move on from.
Yeah.
This next one, this last one on the list before we jump to another list is part of the. We talked about this on the show of that unofficial trilogy of Starship Troopers, Total Recall, and RoboCop, and 2 of those 3 have been remade. And then, what were your thoughts? Well, I know what you're going to say, but I want you to say it again just because we're recording on your thoughts on RoboCop from 2014 with Michael Keaton.
RoboCop, the RoboCop remake with Michael Keaton
Yeah.
and Joel Kinnaman.
Yeah.
I think also is a fine film in the vein of, Roadhouse, Amazon, non-Swayze.
Yeah.
I think it's a fine film. I think you could, they have no heat with it. I think it's a pretty good action film. It's got a decent story. It's got good effects. It's just the fact that it's called RoboCop buries it.
Yeah.
Had this movie come out and just been called Drone Man, you'd have Drone Man 3 by now.
Right. Again, why didn't they just honor the RoboCop is way too popular of a series to think that you're not going to acknowledge the past.
You can't remake Verhoeven. That's
Yeah.
another one. Like, just to
That's a
jump
good
back
point.
on Ghostbusters, Cray was saying they had the intent of trying to recreate the improv of the first one. Yeah, that's probably true because there was a big movement at that time where they would just improv comedy,
Right.
you know, and just shoot all the takes and cut them together. That was probably it. But Ghostbusters is untouchable. You just can't touch that mix of 80s alcoholism and
Yeah.
cocaine use.
Can you imagine trying to redo like Caddyshack on how that thing was put together, also from that time period?
Yeah.
How would you even do that?
No
They didn't
idea.
even know what they were doing.
No.
Joe Rogan has this awesome theory that he thinks that the way that the mushrooms that they were taking back then, like in the 60s, like really influenced like art and creations. Like that's when everything was made to last and everything was better. And then they realized that the human brain was evolving, not only just with stuff we were creating, but the art we were creating. And then they're like, we got to stop that. They're just like evolving too fast. And then they cut it off. But then there was a residual of the 70s and that kind of leaked into the 80s. And then it just stopped. And he thinks that we could change the world again if you just let people take mushrooms.
Yeah.
Is that going to get us banned?
I don't know if I agree to that theory, but like,
He's like, how come people will look at a car from the 60s and just stare at it like they're in love, like they're mesmerized, they can't take their eyes off it, and nobody can give a damn about a car from the 90s or the 80s, right?
There's some nice 90s cars.
Yeah.
Some very nice 80s cars too. Gen 3 Camaros are very nice.
It's just, it was a wild theory that I had thought about, and it's just like...
He thinks mushrooms improve everything. That's his theory. He's like everybody's stoner brother that lives in the basement. Have you ever watched Caddyshack on weed, man? I don't buy it. The only cop remake I want is Time Cop. Yeah, that's a good one.
Oh, yeah, Time Cop. See, that would be another one. It's just like that one, what a great premise. Just take another swing at it. If it didn't have a fair shake the first time.
Wasn't there a show?
There was.
A Time Cop show,
There
yeah.
was a Time Cop show.
I think Time Cop is a great idea. You could make a series of films on that. You know?
Yeah.
If someone had maybe made that more about the actual enforcement of time law and not about Van Damme doing the splits, it might have actually taken off.
He's like, we gotta work a splits in there somehow.
How about this? I'm in the kitchen making Pop-Tarts. And someone shoots a taser at my... and do the splits over it. No.
Yeah, always working your splits.
Yeah.
So this next one, working on that BuzzFeed list. This one is near and dear to my heart, and I
Are we on reboots now?
Yeah. This will be reboots. Because this was a reboot that actually worked so well, and then they didn't even acknowledge it with anything. Because I'm a huge mark for Universal Monsters. I don't know if I told you, June booking, going to Universal Studios for that epic universe, because they're going to have a whole section of the park is nothing but the Universal Monsters.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm a huge mark for those. Why in the world would you have something as great as the first Mummy series with Brendan Fraser? It's just fantastic. And like,
Again, part 2 was better.
and part 2 was great. Yeah, I mean, I loved 3 and the Rock ones. It's fine, but just that those characters are established, right? Brendan Fraser, that's it. It worked. The Mummy worked, and then what? Not even less than 10 years later, they're like, after the whole Avengers, we're gonna have our MonsterVerse, and we're gonna connect all the Dracula and Frankenstein, and we're gonna have our Avengers unit. And the first one they start with is a remake of The Mummy with Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Like, why would you do that? The Mummy works so well, and I know it was 90s, but why couldn't you have an older Rachel Weisz and Brendan Fraser and use them to relaunch it? Like, why did you do that? And Tom Cruise Mummy just did not work because, and I think people were still too attached to The Mummy that did work.
Yeah. It also didn't work because they released that trailer without the music in it.
What do you mean?
The Mummy, the Tom Cruise Mummy, when they put out the trailer, by accident they put out the version of the trailer that had no score in it, and all you could just hear the dialogue, and you could hear where it was chopped up, and like it's probably still online. I'm sure you can watch it, but it's just like Tom Cruise screaming, and it's ridiculous.
Oh,
I think that's what got it. That's pretty much what buried it.
I mean, I went to see it, and all I can think of is just like, this is not as fun as The Mummy. And let's face it, I mean, the Universal monsters, there's the scary aspect. Like, I was listening to Quentin Tarantino talk about how much he loves Abbott and Costello meets Frankenstein, right? And he says the best part of that is Abbott and Costello are selling the comedy, but the monsters are selling the true danger, and neither one of them are selling each other's stuff. Like the monsters never get funny, and the Abbott and Costello never get into like, they just keep being Abbott and Costello. But he's like, a nurse falls out the window from Frankenstein and she's dead. Like, she's definitely dead. Like, there's nothing funny about that. And I feel like they could have captured that spirit. Like, have you ever rode the Mummy ride at Universal Studios?
No.
It's great. It's one of the best, like, unknown roller coasters there is. Like, they had it, and then they blew it. And I was psyched, and I wanted it to work. And then, and we got Russell Crowe, and he's going to play Dr. Jekyll, and you got to meet him as Mr. Hyde, and they booked Johnny Depp as the Invisible Man, and like they were doing all. Javier Bardem was going to be, Frankenstein. They had all this great booking, and you were going to get this Avengers moment, and then they blew it. And
He says he rode that ride the other day.
Yes, how good is that ride? That ride is so good. And then what was his, and the Hugh Jackman one was another one that it just kind of like, it didn't, the Van Helsing, when he played Van Helsing and they got the three monsters in there, it also didn't work. And I feel like this could have been the linchpin that made that work, because nothing made the Universal monsters ever work other than the original Universal monsters and the Monster Squad.
Yeah,
those are the only ones that made that work.
Well, the problem is when you take a film like that, and I think they learned this soon after. It's like when you put Tom Cruise in The Mummy, the movie becomes Tom Cruise versus The Mummy.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So it just alters the entire perspective of what you're coming at that movie at. I think the original Mummy was blessed to have Stephen Sommers in his peak. Now, he had a short career, but I think he was a really fun director. Deep Rising is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
The Mummy and The Mummy 2. I loved his G.I. Joe. I thought it was a good take on G.I. Joe.
Too, yeah.
And I liked his Van Helsing. Now, it had flaws, but I just thought it was a really good take on Van Helsing, and it was fun.
Yeah, it was flawed enough that you feel like it didn't kick off where it needed to go. I would like to go give it a rewatch to see if it actually still worked. But
watch Deep Rising. That's such a fun movie.
Deep Rising is good. Mike, Wolfman has nards. Why don't you do that? Why haven't we got a requel to the Monster Squad?
Why isn't there a movie called Wolfman Has Nards? I think that would be perfect.
Like, here's a hot take that I don't know a lot of people are ready to admit yet. I think the Monster Squad should be just as beloved as the Goonies. I'm gonna just say it.
Well, I mean, it's a Goonies spin. It's a Goonies spin-off.
Yeah,
inspired by the Goonies.
Inspired by, right? It felt like if the Goonies were in a monster movie instead
that's
of
exactly
a
what
pirate
it was,
movie.
Yeah,
but it worked, right? I thought it worked.
It worked. It didn't. It was missing something. It didn't have Dick Donner. I don't know. It wasn't exactly it. Now it's great. I have the Blu-ray, and I do enjoy that film quite a bit. But it's not quite the Goonies to me.
No, just could they use that as the liftoff to get these Universal monsters beloved again? Because these are classic monsters.
Monster Squad. I mean, I like what Blumhouse is doing. I thought the Invisible Man remake
was good.
Was good. And
that was really
turned
good.
It into a serious take. I like that. I think they got I don't know if it's Dracula or Wolfman coming next, but they're gonna that's gonna be in the Invisible Man verse.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
That Invisible Man was like actually terrifying, and they actually used like real technology, and then that was a nice little twist. Anthony, yeah, that '80s isn't his era. Oh, the scene of the kid and the dad on the roof is Goonies level. Yeah, you made me forget. Do you think they're going to put that Invisible Man as part of that MonsterVerse?
Yeah, I think that's probably part of the plan.
Man, that was great. That was like an unexpected. I didn't realize how much.
Monster Squad is also a little bit of Ghostbusters. It's Ghostbusters and Goonies together
combined.
So it feels a little bit derivative. I think that's why it just didn't. It didn't. It's like when you made Gremlins, you got Ghoulies, Critters, and what was the other one?
The one in the toilet?
Munchies.
Oh, Munchies, yeah. Yeah, Jack Nicholson did a Wolfman movie before. For sure, he did his. Because we were promised Guillermo del Toro was going to be doing a Wolfman movie for a while as well.
Yeah.
We do have Mia Goth coming out as a Bride of Frankenstein. So
in what? In the Guillermo del Toro Frankenstein.
Yeah. Yeah, she's going to be the Bride of Frankenstein. So if they do tie these, if it takes place in that same universe, I'm all in. I feel like it's time for another swing. Because vampires just kind of left all those other Universal monsters in the dust. But, when you consider vampires, did you watch the Dracula Rising? That was supposed to be part of that MonsterVerse. And that was good. That was a good movie.
Dracula Rising?
Yeah, Dracula Rising that came out a little bit after The Mummy. He was going to be the Dracula was in there. They were booking no names in there, but
no, I don't remember that.
But that's tough because all of these movies are technically remakes, right? Or reimagined reboots, I guess.
You know why also the Monster Squad is not beloved? Because none of those kids went on to do anything.
No, they didn't.
And that's a big deal.
Yeah.
There was no Corey Feldmans or Sean Astons in there.
That kid, the cool kid though, he feel like he could have, right? I'm in the gang.
He didn't. Whereas Goonies, every single kid in there went on to do huge business.
That's true. That is very true.
And Chunk became the most powerful Hollywood lawyer
in there.
Yeah.
And then Thanos. Yeah, they're all there.
Got Thanos. You got Data. He's got an Oscar now. Sean Astin was Lord of the Rings.
That was a lot, man. That definitely was a lot. It was also a raunchier, like Revenge of the Nerds kind of movie. Yeah, a little bit. I don't know if you want to talk about this next one as a reboot, because I don't know. I mean, we talked a little bit about Star Wars. Any feelings on the Star Trek J.J. Abrams reboots? I thought the casting was really solid. I had no heat with the casting.
Casting is spot on. I think they tried to make it too sexy. I think Star Wars is for nerds. Sorry, guys. Sorry, nerds. But Star Wars is for... I mean, Star Trek is for nerds. And they tried to make it like sexy Star Trek. And I think... I do like Chris Pine. I like Zachary Quinto. The entire cast is great. But they should have kept it a little more science-y.
Yeah.
And I think that's where that went wrong.
Yeah, because the first one was that very like deep thinker, and then Star Trek.
It was still a little too sexy though.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
It's got to be nerdy.
This one wasn't remade as T-Pole and Enterprise was. Yeah, they were sexy as hell. Did you remember the OG Battlestar Galactica movie? And then it got remade into the series. I did not watch the series.
You haven't watched the Battlestar Galactica series, the Ronald Moore show? Mm-mm. Oh, forget everything. You need to watch that.
Really?
Dude. Cray, have you seen the Battlestar Galactica series? Surely you have.
No.
Dude, that is so great. Now, it does kind of fall apart at the end a little bit, but like seasons 1 and 2 and the opening movie, it's got like a movie that opens the whole thing, is so good. Every show, because it's like they're at war and it's serious, and it's not like Star Trek where they're just like, oh, let's go to this planet, see what we find. Every episode is about they're at war with these robots and they won't stop attacking, and they're just trying to survive. It is so good. The first, I'll just give you a preview. It starts with the opening movie, which sets everything off, and the reason Battlestar Galactica survives it's because it's an old ship, so the robots can't hack it. So everybody on that ship is still alive. It's a functioning ship. It's an old captain. It's Edward James Olmos.
Oh, yep.
But like the first episode, he's got it on the box set. After the movie, like the first episode of the show, the pilot is just like they're fighting these robots and they won't stop attacking, and they can't, because they're robots. They don't need rest or sleep or anything. So like they've been awake for like days and days, and they're trying to like take cat naps to keep fighting, and they're just trying to keep it going. And the pilots are taking amphetamines, and they're trying to figure out how to stop this attack. And it's like because like, you know, they got the hyper jump where they can get away, but every time they hyper jump, they only have like 3 minutes before they attack again, and it's so intense. It's like you got to watch that show.
Really?
It does fall apart at the end of the series a little bit, but the first two seasons, you know, with when Lucy Lawless comes in and everything. Oh man, it's so good.
Really? Okay.
You got to watch that.
4 seasons?
I think it's only 4 seasons, but it's old school 4 seasons where it was like they used to make 20 of them.
Oh, I got you. All right, it's on the list.
It's so good, dude. Like every episode is like huge. It's like, you know, because like they've got like the Battlestar Galactica, and they've got like the ships that like made it out with them that are following. So it's just like there's only a certain amount of humans left, and you know, this woman becomes the president, and they have to have elections and stuff. They're trying to keep society going. It's so good.
All right. I mean, I've always heard good thing, and I always think of the original show, which always kind of felt like campy, right?
Yeah, this is
like
not
this
that.
felt like serious as a heart attack.
Yeah, and it's good because this is one you can just watch an episode a night or every few days, or you know what I mean?
For crank them out.
You don't have to just every episode is a standalone in a way, even though it's a continuing story. It's not like where you have to binge it.
Got it. All right.
Yeah, first 2 seasons. Yeah, I forget.
Must watch.
I think it's season 2 that has Lucy Lawless, but anyway, those first 2 seasons are so dope, and it's just like, I can't say enough good things about it. It's like, because there's only like a limited amount of robot models, and they can look a certain way, and every time you find out that this robot model is one of them, it's just like, whoa, it's like a huge deal. So throughout the show, it's like they're revealing the 8 robot models. It's great.
Yeah. All right. Put it on the list.
Peacock.
What about we talked about Godzilla, but we haven't talked about this remakes and reboots. Is the OG the American kaiju King Kong, right? So you had the one from the 30s, right, and then you had the King Kong that I just saw last summer at Smodcastle, the 70,
The Jeff Bridges
76, yeah. And then we had the Peter Jackson one in 2005, and then we had the Kong Skull Island when they were trying to get through that monster verse. So I guess the best way to do that is, which one is your favorite that is in there, or do you like them all, you dislike them all?
My favorite is one you didn't even mention. I like King Kong Lives.
Oh yes,
which is the sequel to the King Kong remake, which is the lower budget sequel.
I did forget about that one.
Yeah, I don't like any of the King Kong remakes, honestly. Skull Island was fun, I guess.
Yeah.
I thought that it was a little strange. I didn't buy it all, but like the Peter Jackson version, honestly, I never even saw it all the way through.
Really?
Yeah, it lost me. Everything on Skull Island lost me. I didn't like the Jack Black character. I was like, this is a really unserious movie. It didn't really grab me. The original, I saw it a bunch of times. My grandpa liked that movie, right? Used to watch it all. Used to come on regular TV all the time, so that was totally watchable or whatever. And again, I feel like there was other King Kong spin-offs in between, but yeah, if I have to pick one of what you mentioned, I would say the original, and then after that, King Kong Lives from Dino De Laurentiis.
Again, maybe because I just saw it fresh and it was just coming off Jaws. I enjoyed the Jeff Bridges one.
Yeah.
But it was also a product of its time, and it wouldn't have worked now, especially the monster. I mean, King Kong, Rick Baker, just in a monkey suit,
right,
was very off-putting.
Was that the same monkey suit from Trading Places?
It might have been.
Was it that gorilla?
It had to be the same one, or maybe also from Kentucky Fried Movie.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I always preferred Kong over Godzilla, I mean, so Godzilla versus Kong. If having that head, I was looking forward to that one a lot.
Yeah. No, I always preferred Godzilla.
Yeah, you're a Godzilla guy.
Yeah.
I've always preferred Kong, but that being said, all right, let's go through here. We got a few more. I think I don't know. Do you want to even talk about the ones? If you start talking about Superman, Batman, James Bond, I just feel like are those are technically all like it's kind of built-in reboots, right?
Yeah, and those are more. I think if that's adaptations,
Right.
of an IP.
Yeah. Just a different take on it. The only because if you think about it, it was kind of built in that we were trained that after Sean Connery pulled away from the James Bond that now it's just somebody else is going to put their take on it. And now it's kind of acceptable that it was just going to be a reboot, and that's why I'll bring this up because we're talking about it. I really disliked the last James Bond ending because I feel like for the first time in this entire franchise, you made it weird and difficult that now it's not going to feel like a clean reboot. Like, is this a spoiler? Is that a spoiler talking about the ending on that? That he just basically he did the job 1, 2, 3. James Bond doesn't die, right? And I know they can kind of reverse that if they wanted to, but like, did that really feel like it was necessary? I don't know. Did that ending bother you as much, or it bothered me a lot?
I didn't see it.
Oh, you didn't even see it?
No.
Oh, wow. So that really was a spoiler.
Yeah. No, I had heard he died. I didn't see it. Didn't really interest me.
Yeah.
I wasn't a huge fan of the
The Daniel Craig
the
ones.
Craig Daniels James Bond's not for me.
Who's your Bond?
Roger Moore.
Yeah, Roger Moore. Same.
Yeah.
Like I know a lot of people, I guess, are Pierce Bronson, but to me it was always Roger Moore. And then my mom was like, "No, it's Sean Connery."
Yeah.
And then he did the Never Say Never Again.
I think I only saw one of the Daniel Craig ones, and I don't know which one, but they all just kind of blended together.
Parkour James Bond.
I wasn't into it.
I don't know, and maybe that was just like the product of time period when your parents first started taking you in the movies, and that was an adult movie that you were going to go see the James Bond, and it was always a big deal. Like now, the way they treat post-credit scenes for Marvels, that's how the beginning opening scenes were for James Bond, right? A completely different built-in story before the credits even start. Mike Myers is my James Bond.
He also said, I'm not a Peter Jackson fan myself. You know what? Me too. My favorite Peter Jackson movie is Dead Alive, and that's kind of the only one I like.
That's it. I like The Frighteners.
Yeah, I don't remember The Frighteners, but yeah.
It was a different take to put Michael J. Fox in something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't mind the Lord of the Rings movies, but I've never felt like I wanted to go back and watch them.
That's fair.
You know what? I'm not into like the fantasy stuff.
Oh, so you haven't watched any of the Amazon ones?
No.
No.
At all.
No. Yeah, it's fine. What about Meet the Feebles? Isn't that Peter Jackson?
Yeah, Meet the Feebles is all right. It's not as good as Dead Alive. It's funny. I think it gets hard to watch after a while, but
Really? Okay.
yeah.
All right, let's jump over to Script Lab. Let's see what Script Lab has had. Again, maybe he was right. There's so many movies that are just like straight up remakes that they're not original. We talked about this a little bit earlier that you have not started Time Bandits, and are you going to watch Time Bandits?
The show?
Yeah.
No.
Nah. Did people sour on Taika? Are they soured on him now?
I don't think so. I think he's still got some popular shows out there. He does that pirate show. I just think, I mean, I don't know. Like, why would anybody want to watch Time Bandits again?
Yeah.
And is it dwarves?
No.
Well, why do I want to watch that?
No. The original Time Bandits, people forget how dark that truly was. Like, his parents die at the end.
Yeah, it was not a kid's movie.
Mom, Dad, don't touch it.
Yeah.
It's evil.
Yeah.
They both just touch it.
But, to be fair, his pants were dicks.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's just like Sean Connery as the fire. It's like, oh, your parents died. Don't worry. I just give you a wink and we drive away. Don't
And at
worry.
the end, the kid is just left there homeless and orphaned.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it. That's the end of the movie. Shout out to the Time Bandits. They went back and made good with their maker and all that stuff, and the kid was just left there, orphaned and homeless.
Oh man.
But I have no interest in a remake of that. It's just like, it's like, again, if like someone pitched a premise and I watch the trailer or the description, it's like, oh, this is kind of like Time Bandits. Okay, I might watch that. But if you're like, hey, this is Time Bandits, we just did it again, then I'm just like, I don't care. You see what I mean?
Oh no, I totally get it, man. That's one was just so dark. Like I think this is false.
Hey, this movie's called Bouncer, and it's kind of like Roadhouse. Really? I'd like to watch that. Is there a sequel? Bouncer 2?
Bouncer 2.
Back to back?
Yes, I'm in.
And it's just like, no, it's just Roadhouse, and we're just calling it Roadhouse. And it's just like, it's on TV already, so I just hit a button. It's like, okay, I'll see what this is.
What's this about? Let's talk about Stephen King's had a few remakes here, but let's talk about this, the Carrie one. Because the Carrie one was, the original with Sissy Spacek was so good. And I watched the one with Chloe Moretz and Julianne Moore. It was good. It was fine. I think
it was garbage.
They could have. You hated it?
No, actually, if I'm honest, I never saw the whole thing through.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw some of it. It seemed pretty dumb.
It was just too hard to compete with that. Why couldn't they make that like somehow she was related, or I don't know, that this was another one that they would have benefited from honoring the original, or just like you just said, this movie's like Carrie, but it's not Carrie.
Yeah. I don't care about that movie, but there was a made-for-TV remake of Carrie, which I thought was really good.
Really?
Yeah, it was like a pilot for a series, and they had Angela Bettis in it playing Carrie, and she was really good in that movie. When she was at her peak, I really liked her a lot. Another Austin actor, but like the made-for-TV Carrie with Angela Bettis is good.
Really? Okay.
Chloe Moretz, I can't vouch for that one.
Stephen King is a lot of people are taking swings at it. I mean, I think It is probably the most popular of remakes, and I think they stand next to each other as, to me, they're completely, well, the first remake of the It, I think, was really good. The part 2, but then I was thinking about it, was just like, oh, also on because it was a TV movie, right?
The first remake? You mean the
well, no, the part 1 and part 2.
The original
one with Tim Curry was also a 2-parter as well, right? And the same thing, I felt like they both fell victim to the same thing, that part 2 both kind of fell apart compared to part 1.
Oh.
So I guess they stood next to each other like that. But as far as
the only thing is, for the Tim Curry one, you only had to wait like 3 days to watch part 2.
Right,
or a week at the most. You had to wait like a year or 2 years to watch part 2 of this one.
Right.
And you get there and just like, oh, this sucks. I don't even want to watch the rest of it.
Exactly. Yeah, one was a miniseries and then one was actually a movie.
Who do you think has done the best Stephen King adaptation? Because I feel like they're very hit or miss with his adaptations.
I mean, and he would hate that I'd say it. I mean, because he has a bad relationship with it. But I think The Shining is probably the best adaptation. And
you think the Kubrick one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, hands down. I don't even know if there's probably maybe Cujo is the second closest there.
Yeah.
And I haven't rewatched Salem's Lot in a while. I'm going to watch the remake, but it seems like it's already in trouble. Like they won't release it, and it's been ready for a while, so that makes me a little nervous. But yeah, I think Kubrick is the one that did the best Stephen King. Because I know Stephen King then tried to make what was considered
the made-for-TV.
Yeah, with the guy from Wings.
The made-for-TV.
And that one didn't work for me at all.
Yeah.
That's just the Kubrick thing it just worked too well because it felt truly terrifying. And when you're reading Stephen King's books, it just gets in your mind and it's like really, really scary.
Yeah.
But then, like you said, sometimes his films don't do that. But Kubrick the film actually did that. To this day, you turn it on and you don't want to laugh. It's like legit still for a shoot scary.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm surprised no one's taking a swing at Cujo, though. That's got to be coming soon.
People
right?
like dogs too much. We can't do that.
Oh,
anymore.
you're right. Yeah,
we can't make a killer dog movie anymore.
Yeah.
That's not a thing.
No, that would not work.
I think somebody, maybe me, us, you and I want to take a swing at Maximum Overdrive. That's what I want to remake.
Oh, yeah.
Even though that was not a book, that was an original screenplay
Yeah.
that he did. But Maximum Overdrive, I love. And you watch that trailer. Oh my God! Whatever Stephen King is on that trailer, it was
Yeah, that was
biblical.
fantastic. Yeah.
But Maximum Overdrive, and of course, I mean, I think you forget about it, but I think it's the best adaptation of a Stephen King thing. Or two of them is Shawshank Redemption
Oh, yeah.
and Stand By Me.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I was thinking in the horror sense, but those are Criterion at the top of a lot of people's lists, like especially Shawshank for sure. But
And Stand By Me, come on.
Stand By Me can just like that is when you have cable and that's on.
Yeah.
You're not changing the channel.
Chris says, just make Cujo a party killer dog. Like,
Like free.
no one wants to see a killer dog because the dog is going to have to get shot at the end or something, and no one's going to go for that.
Oh, Mike's right. The Stand was actually that original miniseries really was scary to the point I got Paramount Plus because I was going to watch the remake of that, and I didn't because I had a lot of good memories of the Stand miniseries from back in the day. And
the
the
Green Mile.
Your Green Mile. Yeah, that is another one too.
Green Mile's tough to watch. That's like sadness porn.
Sadness. How is it that Stephen King can like write entire books and like and then just like throw them in the garbage? Like he's got like thousands and thousands of pages and ideas that he just never even used.
Yeah.
That's wild to think.
You can just crank it out.
Yeah. This one I'm curious what your take is going to be because I know you love the actor and love the original and both of them. Death Wish. Bruce Willis versus Charles Bronson.
The remake of Death Wish, Eli Roth's Death Wish,
Yep.
was pretty terrible. Just not well done at all. I can't really say anything good about it. Now, the thing about the original Death Wish, though, is not so much. I don't love the original as much as I love the sequels.
Except part 2 is the best Death Wish.
3 is the best.
You
Death
like
Wish.
3?
3 is the best Death Wish. Yeah. 2 is great because it's an upgrade, but like 3 is just so huge, where he's just taking out the entire street gang with machine guns.
Yeah.
You know, in part 1, he's shooting criminals with a .22 caliber, right? That he's got hidden in his cast. He's got like a fake broken arm, and he was just being a vigilante like that. But by the time he gets to 3, he's shooting grenades at people.
I think what bothered me about 1, which I wouldn't put it on there, is just like, Jeff Goldblum and his gang. He never got revenge on them.
Yeah.
He just decided to have revenge on crime.
Yeah.
Where 2, he had his Kill Bill list and he was going after him, right?
Right.
You believe in Jesus, you're
Right.
going to meet him.
Because like Death Wish was one of those like 70s thinker movies.
Yeah.
Where it was just like, oh man, what if this? You think he's immediately a badass because it's Charles Bronson, but really he's just like a shy architect.
Yeah.
And he doesn't even have a gun. The only reason he has a gun is because someone gives him a gun as a gift.
Right.
You're
right.
And like the first time he the first time when he like hits somebody with the sock full of quarters, it's like so sloppy. It's not cool. But you just equate Charles Bronson to coolness.
Yeah.
And he doesn't get cool till part 2.
No, and you were absolutely right. And I think that's what threw people off a little bit because you kind of also expect that with Bruce Willis. So you got the more subdued doctor in that too. So I think, like you said, maybe that didn't do the film any favors.
Yeah.
That would be interesting. Mike talking about wishing maybe get a Dirty Harry series reboot.
I don't know if that'll work now. I don't think anybody wants to see a movie about a cop who plays by his own rules and delivers his own brand of justice.
The Deadpool. That's right. There was 4 of them, right? There was Dirty Harry, Magnum Force, The Enforcer, Sudden Impact, and Deadpool. There's 5.
And Tightrope.
Tightrope was 1 too?
Wasn't Tightrope 1?
I don't know. 40%. Yeah, maybe Tightrope. I don't remember Tightrope.
But there was a whole series of them.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. I feel like the get off my porch guy was a little bit like maybe that was retired Dirty Harry, right?
Could be, yeah. He was a little closer.
This next one I did not see. I'll probably put this one with the remake of Dirty Dancing, which I also didn't see. The remake of Footloose. Like, do you even really bother to touch those? But again, this probably could have benefited from the same thing where you're talking about Roadhouse.
I enjoyed the Footloose remake.
You did? I didn't see it.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was
Really?
all right. It was all right. I'm not sure. I only saw it once, but I thought it was fine.
You weren't okay. Did not see it. We already talked about The Mummy. Oh, here's another one we've got to talk about. And we can ball these two together because there was technically a remake of both of The Nightmare on Elm Street and the Friday the 13th. Both had remakes almost around the same time.
Yeah, both garbage.
Yeah. Oh man, this both hurt. Jackie Earle too. Like you really did not expect. He was on such a roll then too.
Yeah.
But it just especially with Robert Englund still alive. Like, can you really still do that? Like, I feel like he can still tell stories. Like, it felt like, why did you even get rid of him to begin with?
I feel like he could probably do it, but I wonder because of his age if he could still do the physicality.
Yeah.
Because Freddy's pretty physical. So I don't know. But I think the issue with Jackie Earle was that he did not even like A Nightmare on Elm Street and had never watched them.
Oh,
so
I didn't know
whoever
that.
is going to play Freddy when we get that remake has to understand Freddy and want to play Freddy.
Yeah.
You know? Because the thing about Freddy is his backstory is kind of mixed. Is he a child molester? I feel like he is in certain movies, but then it's not addressed in other movies.
Right.
You know? Did he not really do anything? Did the parents mistakenly kill him?
Right.
Possibly. I think that's in one of the movies. So I don't know, but like however they do this, the person playing I heard Kevin Bacon wants to play Freddy.
Yeah, I did hear that too.
He is pretty old too, so I don't know about that.
But Ren can dance.
Yeah.
He stays loose.
So I don't know. I don't know if that would be a good fit. I mean, maybe it could be. I don't know.
I was way more disappointed just being such a huge mark for Friday the 13th that I was just kind of bummed out that remake didn't work. Because I thought it was different because that take that they took with that Jason was going to be, what if Jason could run? And I was like, oh, maybe they're going to introduce like running zombies. Like it's going to be a little bit different. But it just didn't work at all.
Yeah, and they kind of like mixed part one and part two together.
Yeah, that was another big problem too, right? Because that was a big twist back in the day with yeah. But I don't know if you heard, but the reboot series is back on at A24. Everyone was worried it was gone.
I was happy it was gone.
Yeah, because I didn't have faith in Brian Fuller pulling that off because his stuff always seemed a little bit like it seemed a little frothy, right? Like a little lighter.
Yeah,
and you want something to feel a little bit darker.
Yeah.
So I don't know about this new showrunner though. I don't know anything about it.
I have zero interest in that. It's another thing of just like, why do we care about his backstory? It's just like, do you ever hear that Patton Oswalt joke where it's like George Lucas is just like, hey, do you like ice cream? It's like, yeah, I like ice cream. It's tasty. It's like, well, here's some rock salt. That's what they use to make ice cream. It's like, I don't care. I don't want Jason backstory. I just want Jason doing the Jason gimmick, and that's it.
Yeah.
I don't care about the camp and like what happened there before. I don't need any backstory. We know he was teased. He was abused. We got all that. I don't need to see an entire series about that.
From what I read, that this came out of the lawsuit, right? Of just like the Victor Miller versus Sean Cunningham lawsuit,
right?
Where one owns the Friday the 13th and one owns Jason,
right?
Type of thing. And I think because Victor Miller is an executive producer on this, and I think because he won the rights to what that Friday the 13th story was,
yeah.
But he had nothing to do with Jason with the hockey mask,
right?
So I thought that was going to be the way that they were going to have a concession. I was like, all right, you do this, and we're going to come back to making the Jason gimmick. Because don't you feel like if they make a big enough deal and just have Jason, just regular Jason, like another installment, but it's a big deal that it's number 13 that people would show up.
Yeah, I think that would be a bigger draw than a prequel series, for sure.
Yeah, especially, man, it's just like, well, we know the whole thing is about being cursed, but to think that we don't have number 13.
Yeah.
Oh, what's up, JJ? Yeah, evil for the sake of being evil. I don't need backstories. That's why a lot of people say the Halloween one of the Rob Zombie one didn't work, right? Because you got too much backstory on Michael
Too much
Myers.
backstory, yeah.
Yes,
Because that was the whole
didn't work.
thing. It's like, the whole thing about these killers is like, we don't know why they're doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
Maybe we find out snippets. Oh, he was abused. Oh, whatever. But we just, I can't even imagine what a Friday the 13th prequel series is going to be and how just cringely annoying it's going to be.
I don't know. I mean,
oh, he's Jason. He's getting picked on by these kids. Oh no, he's going to kill somebody someday. I'm so uninteresting to me.
because he drowned, right? And then so is it going to take place between what happens after his drowning and then before we see him in part 2 after he sees his mom get whacked? Is that what it's going to be about? It's going to be on Peacock, so it's going to be a light lift as far as like if you decide you want to watch it.
That just sounds so boring.
Didn't we just have a Mike saying I'd rather get a fresh Hellraiser? Wasn't there a Hellraiser on Hulu?
There was a Hellraiser recently where it was like a lady pinhead.
Female pinhead,
Yeah.
right?
I think Freddy has potential, but you have to just get somebody in there who really wants to do it. I mean, there's so much material to farm in there. You know, he comes in your dreams. That's a lot. You could do stuff. You could do crazy stuff with it. It's like Jason. It's just he's killing people in the woods, and that's about all you got.
Yeah, that's it.
But in a dream, you can go anywhere.
Right.
So you've got to do some of that. And I think he was right. He said something about taking it straight to Dream Warriors, which is the best of the Nightmare on Elm Street series. Sure, we could take it to Dream Warriors.
Dream Warriors. Oh, if you can bring that back, that would be great.
Jason prequel needs to have time traveling Jason coming to kill dweeb kid Jason. Yeah, and then just takes his place.
Time traveling element. All right.
Yeah.
This was an interesting one when this came out, and I think it's kind of forgotten. And it was when Vince Vaughn was going through. I'm not going to do comedy stuff anymore. Was the shot-for-shot remake of Psycho? Do you remember much about this?
Yes, I remember a lot because it came out. It came out on December 4th on my birthday, so that was my birthday movie that year. And I was very excited about it. I thought it was going to be great. And it was just like, oh, because Gus Van Sant was pretty hot at the time. Vince Vaughn was hot at the time. And it's like, oh, they're doing Psycho, and it looked cool. It looked good, you know?
Solid cast, right? Viggo Mortensen,
Yeah.
Anne Heche, R.I.P., William H. Macy, Robert Forster.
So I was just like, okay, this will be... But then, yeah, it's just a shot-for-shot remake. And then at the end of it, you're just like, oh, why did we do that?
This was literally like there was no reimagining
No,
in this.
there's like one or two extra shots that are not in the black and white version.
Oh,
But it's just like this didn't really do anything for me.
I mean, the original was such a product of its time. Like it creates a vibe like that Twilight Zone vibe that's really hard to recreate.
And
So-
I'm gonna go out on a limb here. Part 2 is better.
Oh yeah. I give you the,
Psycho 2 is fantastic.
Yeah, it is.
Come on, give
really
it up for
is.
Psycho 2.
Yeah. No, I got no heat with that choice. It is-
Psycho 2 is a much more entertaining film than Psycho. Come on, if you had a choice to watch.
I remember just because that was kind of like my parents' generation of that Psycho, that they were so psyched that they made a Psycho 2. That was one of the movies that we were allowed to go see with them. And so it holds a warrant. That shovel shot.
If you watch that movie, it's so entertaining. It works to this day. It's a great story. You know, it's a premise. It's like you can buy it. He's coming, he had mental problems. He's coming out of the institution, trying to get his hotel back, take it over. And, you got Meg Tilly, who was just not in enough films for me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Psycho 2 is so good.
Yeah, Psycho 2 was great. No, I don't think there's anything wrong with that choice on that. Oh, I don't remember much about this one. Man, how is this movie 12 years old already? The Red Dawn remake with Thor, where instead of Russian soldiers, were they actually unnamed, possibly North Korean soldiers?
I think it was North Korea, but I didn't see that one either.
No?
Yeah.
There was just something that I think the original one works so well is just because of that we were all in that Cold War, right?
Yeah.
That was just kind of drilled into our heads.
You know, you can I don't know if you can properly explain this to some of the younger generations, but there was a time where we thought there could be a nuclear war at any minute.
Yeah.
Like any minute, it could just happen.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's how we lived.
Yeah, you just like like I know they do the I forgot what they call it in schools now when the
duck and cover.
Yeah, they do a version of the duck and cover
Yeah.
for unfortunate reasons.
Yeah.
But yeah, we did the duck and cover like you're just like it was actually going to do anything.
Yeah. I didn't see it. I mean, it's one of the, like, again, I don't get super into the remakes, especially things like that. It's like, why remake a movie that's already great?
Yeah.
Remake Red Heat. That would be good.
Yeah, that would
Red
be
Heat
good.
would be a good remake. And get Batista and Kevin Hart. Boom, I just wrote it for
There
you.
you go. There it is.
Yeah. Or John Cena would be good, too. I bet he could do a good Russian accent.
That would be good.
Yeah.
Here's another one that worked really well that I forgot was even a remake was Cape Fear.
Yeah.
Cape Fear was so 91, but it was a remake of one from 62.
Yeah.
But I think Robert Mitchum versus Robert De Niro. I think those are ones that they can stand separately and be okay, and I feel like it doesn't stomp on the old one.
You know what's funny? I don't remember the exact details, but I did read this somewhere that was a movie. Spielberg was doing that movie, and then for whatever reason, him and Scorsese just traded movies.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know what movie Spielberg ended up doing that Scorsese was doing, but they essentially, this is how things were back then when directors were all cool with each other. Like they just swapped projects.
That's so funny.
Let me see. I don't know if I can find it,
That's so funny.
but yeah, go on.
No, I totally skipped some of these other ones that I didn't even want to talk about, like Omen 2006 remake.
He traded it for Schindler's List,
What?
like a baseball card.
Are you serious?
Yeah, they traded movies. Spielberg traded Cape Fear for Schindler's List.
Oh wow! And look, then they both paid off.
Yeah.
One got a little gold man.
But like Scorsese at that time, he was like kind of a journeyman. No, he had already done Goodfellas. I guess he had.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cape Fear for Schindler's List. It's like the trade of the century.
Freaking man, Spielberg. What about I love the original way too much that I did not watch the 2007 remake of The Hitcher. I just love the original way too much to even bother.
I didn't even know there was a remake.
Yeah,
Who was
2000.
in that?
Sean Bean and Sophia Bush.
Pass.
Yeah, you did. That was a pat. Last week we already talked about the day the Earth stood still. I guess the fog technique. Another one that's just like there was a period of these. It was in the early 2000s that they were trying to bang out a lot of these.
Yeah.
Like they were in reboot mania. Like
What remake did so good that they kept putting them out?
Yeah.
Can't think of one that was an uber hit.
No, I don't even know. I mean, well, Dune now, and like you said, but like back then in that 2000s?
That's like they're taking another stab at the book. It's not the same.
Yeah. That's not the same. I totally agree. Like I'd love to watch the original When a Stranger Calls, and I didn't even know there was a new one in 2006.
It's called When a Stranger Texts.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, here's another one that hurt, and this was another 2000s. Man, this was gnarly. Clash of the Titans.
I didn't see the remake.
No?
No.
And then with Sam Worthington, and then they did a Wrath of the Titans, but the 80s one was too much of a product of the time, and it just like it was kind of like Time Bandits. It had a warm place in your heart. The Ray Harryhausen, the stop motion and stuff, like that was going to be too hard to.
Yeah.
It was just too charming.
Yeah. No. It never even occurred to me to go watch that.
Nope. Let's see. And then they have the ones, The Grudge. I guess there was a time period like.
Where they were making every Japanese horror.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The Grudge. Let the Right One In wasn't Japanese, but it was the same thing.
It was like The Ring.
The Ring was the other
Grudge, one. was it called Evil Eyes or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. And obviously mostly cash grabs for sure. We didn't talk about the remake, one horror remake that I kind of enjoyed. Probably had a lot to do with Jessica Biel, is the 2003 Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I didn't think it was just like, obviously the first one is head and shoulders above.
I thought that film was solid.
Yeah.
Well, that's what inspired all these other remakes of other 80s slashers, because that one kind of worked pretty well.
Yeah, it did really.
It did.
I get
did pretty well. So, but like, yeah.
Can you imagine now? And then it's like, oh, let's do this with a bunch of horror. I got one. Let's do Amityville Horror, and we'll book Ryan Reynolds in it.
Yeah.
And just let him improv.
Pretty much.
I did not watch that one.
I didn't see
but
that
was
one
like just a
either.
couple of years later too. Yeah, and then we talked about Nightmare on Elm Street. What are your feelings on this one? I have warm feelings in my heart for the 70s one, and the 90s one. It was and I talked about it earlier, The Island of Dr. Moreau.
I didn't see.
What is
either-
the law?
I didn't
feel
see
like,
either one.
No?
No.
I feel like they did an episode on video archives of Island of Dr. Moreau. I'd love to get his take.
The old one.
Yeah, I'd love to get his
There's
take
a
on that.
documentary about the making of the Val Kilmer one.
The Val Kilmer
And
one?
I did see that documentary, but I didn't ever watch the film. Because it was funny, because, the director got fired off the movie, and he was so pissed, he snuck back on the movie as an extra.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't remember seeing that Val Kilmer. I think I probably did, though, and that had what's his name like in his last days too, right?
Marlon Brando.
Yeah.
And he wore a bucket on his head.
Oh, that's when they originally had and that's where the mini-me idea was born, right? He had the little mini-me version.
I mean, he definitely had a mini-me, but yeah, I don't know if that inspired Mike Myers, but
I thought
possibly.
it did.
It's possible. I know they just wore a bucket. Marlon Brando wore a bucket on his head.
Oh my God. Here's one that they had no business touching, no business. But I don't know. I'd be curious if you saw it. I don't even know if I saw it because it was Paul W.S. Anderson, Death Wraith 2000.
Oh, that was good.
It was good?
The remake?
Yeah.
With Jason Statham?
Yeah.
That one's great.
Really?
Yeah.
Same premise?
Same premise, but done more serious. The original was a little satirical.
Yeah.
But it's done. That's a good one. That's a good one. I like that one.
Okay, I have to see that. Anyone else got favorite, hated, dreamed of remakes, reboot? Yeah, what else? Yeah. If you guys had any in here that we're missing.
I've told you this multiple times. The one I would like to remake myself, if I could. I don't know who owns the rights, but if the studio's listening, I would like to do Maniac Cop.
Oh, man.
I would love to do Maniac Cop. I think that's a great premise. And you watch the movie, it's done. The original's done in a more serious way, you know what I mean? But I think now if you did it today where it was a cop as a serial killer, that would hook people for real.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man, yeah, Bobby. I wish he was still around for that, man. I'm telling you, you would have gotten along so well with him.
I was wearing my Maniac Cop shirt at the store the other day, and the checker was asking me about it. And he was like, who was in Maniac Cop? I was like, Robert Zadar. And like, who's that? And I was like, he's the guy with a big jaw. Did you ever see Tango and Cash? He's like, no, I'm only 20.
If Bobby Zadar was still around, he'd probably be living here right now. I'm just gonna put that right out there. I don't know. Yeah, some of these other ones now these are requels, like Blade Runner 2049.
Is it a requel or a straight sequel?
Is it? I don't know, because what makes it a requel versus a straight sequel? That's a good question. And Mike, if you're still out there, what makes a requel versus a straight sequel? Right, like, because I was really confused on the Aliens ones, because
Remake Tango and Cash now. No, just do a sequel.
Tango and Flash 2.
Tango and Cash 2. I'm more for sequels. I would also like to see an Escape from New York sequel. Not a remake, not a requel, just a straightforward sequel.
Not
cast.
Don't acknowledge Escape from L.A.
No, you couldn't acknowledge Escape from LA.
Okay.
That's a perfectly fine film.
Yeah.
It gets too much heat, in my opinion. It went hard on the satire, and the effects were not as great. But that movie's perfectly fine.
I heard the rumor was going to be the part 3 was going to be Escape from Earth.
Escape from Earth or Escape from USA with, keep Kurt Russell as Snake Plissken, old now. You can cast his
Old
son.
Man Snake.
You can cast his son as his son.
Yeah.
Come on.
That would be good.
Like, just don't remake it. Just give us the sequel.
Yeah.
Okay? And maybe Snake has kids all over the place.
He probably does.
So you can have what is Kurt Russell's son's name? Wyatt Russell.
Wyatt, right?
Right? And then cast a sister Snake. I mean, and then maybe
Sister Snake.
like a trio of
Dude,
Snake's
that's a
kids.
great name, Sister Snake.
Yeah, something like that. And just like, let's go from there,
Oh man, that would be great to see. I'd love to see
Mike
that.
says Requel has to feature a new lead character primarily and only uses the legacy as a draw, if at all.
Okay. So yeah, then Alien, like you said, Rook is the closest one, so that might not fall.
Well, Rook's not even in Aliens.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he had a different, it was just the same model.
Yeah. But I think then let's see. Then Halloween wouldn't be a requel, in my opinion. Halloween 2018?
Oh yeah, no. That was a restart.
That's a sequel.
Yeah, that was a restart.
Well, no, that's a sequel. It's not a requel because Jamie Lee Curtis is still the main character.
Oh,
right?
you're right. Yes.
But like in Scream, we've got Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega are now the main characters.
Yeah.
And we only got a Nev Campbell cameo.
And now they're going to, now it's curious. What's that? So then the next one, are they even going to bother to acknowledge these two? When the next one comes out with Nev Campbell?
That's not going to happen.
You don't think it's too,
No.
it's too cursed?
There's no way that's going to happen. I'll tell you exactly what's going to happen is they're going to come to Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega with truckloads of money and say, "Sorry, we messed up. Please take us back and do Scream 3." That's what's going to happen. They're not going to do
Fair.
a Nev Campbell Scream. There's no way.
Fair enough. I'm curious what you think about this one, the Conan the Barbarian remake with Jason Momoa. Rose McGowan.
Didn't see it.
No?
Nope.
Is it because it's holy ground or it just slipped through the cracks on you?
I just had no interest in it.
Yeah.
Why would I watch a Conan movie without Arnold Schwarzenegger?
That's true. All right, fair.
Like there's some people you just can't replace them, and that's why those movies can't be remade.
Yeah.
You can do another Conan, but you've got that movie very much it kept the same spirit, right? It didn't go for a more serious Conan or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It didn't reinvent Conan or present. It just kind of existed in the same sort of space, and it didn't interest me. It was like a fun Conan action movie. Felt like The Mummy.
Now, if he would have passed the sword and Arnold would have been in it.
Conan 1 is serious.
Yeah.
Like, I watch that often. I don't know how often you watch it, but I watch it often. And, like, the first scene where the Conan's getting lessons from his dad, that's important.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And then just, like, the entire backstory where from there, it's like they get wiped out and Conan becomes a slave and then a gladiator and then, free man, and he meets that surfer dude and they become buddies. It's great.
Right.
That movie tells such a great story.
It does.
It's just like, what is Jason Momoa doing? I don't know.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize the spirit of some of these movies, the heart that's kind of just built into there versus when they're like, it's not just the character, there's a lot more to it. Here's two that I didn't think, and I didn't see any of the remakes, and I would be shocked. Actually, I take it back. I may have seen one of them. How do you remake The Last House on the Left and I Spit on Your Grave? Like, those 70s movies were so 70s dark and gritty.
I don't know. I didn't see either of them, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I don't know how they would be. Like, I know
So dark,
Alexander Aja did one of them, and I'm a fan of his directing, but, like, I don't know. I just didn't see them. I guess those movies kind of exist for shock value, and I've already seen the original Shocking, so I wouldn't be re-shocked.
Right, exactly. I would almost put those somewhere in, like, trying to remake Faces of Death.
Yeah.
Like, they were a product of their time, where something like a remake of Dawn of the Dead feels like two different movies.
Should have called it Mall of the Dead.
Exactly. If they would have called it Mall of the Dead, they would have had no heat, but it was still good. But it just created something completely different.
Call it Mall of the Dead. Lean a little more into the mall angle, and I think it would have been.
Oh man!
But I mean, I think it's a perfectly good movie. One of Zack Snyder's best.
Yeah.
He's always better when he's like a journeyman director.
Yeah, you called it, and I think you're right on that. And we talked about this last week. Obviously, The Thing. I mean, The Thing. You just two completely different beasts. Like the OG was the
Thing from Another World.
Yeah, The Thing of Another versus the actual Thing. Two completely different movies. All right, man. I think that's we went through a lot.
Look, you forgot one.
Wait, I probably forgot a bunch.
You probably forgot a bunch, but I think you should. This one has to be brought up because I think this was one of the better requels. This is the perfect requel, in my opinion. They never remake Sport Movies. It's weird. Well, that's funny you say that.
Oh, really?
That's funny you say that because I'm about to talk about why did we not mention Creed?
Oh, yeah. I guess does that fall under?
That's a requel.
That's a requel. Yeah,
that's a requel,
and that's fantastic.
That started with a new lead character, and just used the older characters for legacy. The third one didn't even have Balboa in it.
Yeah. Man, it's a shame he hates that one, and I love Creed 3.
Well, he only hates it because he didn't get a check on it. But, like, you know, it's a bump.
He's ready for Creed 4, though, he said.
He wants to do Creed on Ice or Rocky on Ice or whatever. But, like, I mean, that movie worked so well, and I remember hearing about it. I remember I was actually in Philadelphia when they were filming it. And I was I was watching the local news, and there was like filming downtown continued for the Rocky spin-off Creed. Blah blah. I was like, what a horrible idea, Apollo Creed's son. So stupid. What a cash grab. And I hated it. I hated the very thought of it. And I went to see it, and I was like, oh wow, that nailed it so hard. Perfect.
Yeah. Most successful requel handoff? Absolutely. It's funny when we were talking about Scream and Jurassic World as the perfect handoffs. Yeah, you're probably right. Creed had to have been probably the most successful requel handoff for sure. But remaking sports movies, did you The Longest Yard with Adam Sandler? Actually, I kind of like that, but they leaned a little bit more into the comedy, where first one wasn't really accidentally. It was accidentally funny. Yeah. Where I feel like they were trying to be purposely funny.
But I mean, it's an Adam Sandler movie.
Yeah, exactly.
I think they're both perfectly watchable.
Yeah.
It just depends what you're in the mood for.
All right.
But I if I see Burt Reynolds in a movie, he's got to be driving a Trans Am or making moonshine. And that's the only thing I approve of.
I just rewatched the scene with him and Jackie Gleason in the bar.
Bad News Bears? Yeah, that's good.
Oh, Bad News Bears. That's another remake. I forgot about that one. What were your thoughts on that one?
I thought Linklater did a fine job.
Yeah.
Billy Bob was a great casting. Good call. He's our modern day Walter Matthau.
He really is. Yeah, he plays a really good drunk. I mean, because obviously Bad Santa is up there too. But the first one, like, man, we got to do a sports episode because I'd be curious if when you talk about which one do you like better, Bad News Bears or Bad News Bears Breaking Training. Man, some of them are so powerful because that was.
Wait, do they go to Japan in Breaking Training?
No, that's Japan. They is a different one, which that's probably my least favorite. No, Breaking Training, they just drive to Houston.
Oh, okay.
And Scott Baio's cousin is the pitcher, and they just smuggle a van.
Yeah.
And they have to drive to the Astrodome. Let them play! Yeah. Let them play! Man, that still gets you psyched up.
Yeah.
But that first Bad News, I actually just rewatched a little bit of the Billy Bob one, and it's so good.
Yeah.
But the other one just has a warm place in your heart just because of the time period and you're younger and stuff, so. But I guess that would have technically been an earlier requel to go from.
No, that's a remake.
Remake?
Yeah.
Oh no, the from Bad News Bears to Bad News Bears Breaking Train. Oh, they just got rid of the girl pitcher and Walter Matthau, right? And then they just took over Jackie Earle going to see his dad. So I guess it's a straight sequel then.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't remember much about the Japan one other than just knowing it wasn't as good as the other two. So
that's all I remember.
Well, I know we probably forgot a bunch, but I think we got to wrap up here.
Wow.
Because we're on that East Coast time, but that was fun, man. This was the biggest reminder of there's not a lot of originality left in Hollywood, and I think we knew that all along. But this is a really stark reminder.
Yeah.
But there's good original movies out there. You just got to go to Tubi or Shudder, or go dig around and find it that way.
Plenty of good stuff out there.
Yeah, they're just not going to
And if you're going to
theaters.
do remakes, reboots, ask us what we want first.
Yes. It's just like, well, would you
Don't
like
just
to
make random things. No one ever said make Battleship a movie.
Yeah, exactly. Like, where did that go?
Yeah.
But yeah, we got stuff we got to start planning, because we got our football draft show coming up, and then probably a week, maybe 2 weeks, we got to plan our Fantastic
Fest coverage.
Pre-coverage. So we're going to be there, and I think I want to ask Halle Berry what's her favorite flavor of berry.
She will be on the show. We're getting Halle Berry
Yeah.
on the show.
And I think I'm going to get smacked when Johnny say, "You're my favorite flavor of berry." Then they escort us off. I'm like, damn it, why'd you do that?
All right.
All right. See you. Thanks for joining. We'll see you next time.
Peace.
Peace.